Well, hello, everybody. This is Tim Green with Rattle Magazine. Welcome to the biggest freewheeling live streaming poetry podcast on the planet. So glad you could join me. Bethany Jarmul as our guest tonight. She'll be here in a few minutes. But before we go, I should say that Rattle is a publication of the Rattle Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit working to promote the practice of poetry. We've been in continuous publication since 1995 and are unaffiliated with any other organization. We just do all that because we love poetry. And know you do too, so please do click on the like button and share. Make sure you're subscribed. Ring the bell for notifications. Whatever you do to help spread poetry around the internet would be much appreciated. And now we're going to start out with our Poets Respond poet. I have to ask, though, Jennifer, before we talk, can you make sure the YouTube is off? I heard an echo. It's off? Okay, good. We're good. All right. No problem. So Jennifer Blackledge is here. And Jennifer's the Poets Respond poet of the day. Hey, Jennifer, how you doing?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's definitely my pleasure. And like I've been saying every week for several months now, it's always hard to find the politically oriented poems that have real live poetry in them. And this was just a wonderful one. The way you took this word of the day, Widdershins, which I didn't know what it meant either, and turned it into something. Both you had fun with it, but then also had a political message too that you were talking about. So, can you tell us how this poem came to be, where you got the idea from it, and how did you get from point A to point B? It's such a fascinating journey.
Sure, thanks. Like a lot of people, I think I've been carrying around this like just huge and ever-growing rage, and it's just so hard to channel it into political poems are really hard to write, without sounding like you're ranting or kind of overwrought. So I think in the last week I've just had this word rattling around in my head from this word of the day email list I get. And like, unfortunately, I saw Steve Bannon giving his Nazi salute, and somehow like it just connected, and it was one of the easiest poems I've ever written. It just kind of came out almost all in the first draft. So I guess lucky, like the lava found the right channel.
Yeah. So did you know that this was the direction it was going to go, like when you started writing the poem?
No, not really. I was just thinking of more of like the general state of the world, and then unfortunately, the arm inserted itself, and it really just became that.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go ahead and read this?
Okay, thanks. The word of the day is Widdershins, which sounds fun and elfin, like that dance that leprechauns do, hobnail boots clicking with glee, or maybe something a confused rabbit in coattails might say when he's lost his way. Ah, Widdershins, as he lights his adorable pipe and adjusts his whittle wireframe glasses. But like everything lately that arrives in my inbox or crosses my screen, it's not cute at all. Just a twee way to say backwards, not right, in a direction contrary to the sun's course, considered unlucky counterclockwise, like every day of this cursed year. I want it to be a magic word I can say 3 times and focus my rage to reset the course. Widdershins, Widdershins, Widdershins. But all it summons is my neighbor saying, "Come on, it was just a Roman salute," or a video of the ladies I used to see at school drop off or softball games singing "God Bless America" in red, white, and blue shirts and hats that ends with their right arms in the air giggling. And yet another think piece that asks mildly if we really saw what we saw. That arm raised like a dark minute hand that drags us fucking Widdershins down into a warren we dug so long ago we forgot how deep it ran beneath us.
Yeah, that's just such a wonderful poem. It made me laugh several times, and it just really delight. And then goes to show how many surprising places poetry can come from. A word of the day list and Steve Bannon of all things. Yeah, and so what is the word of the day list that you subscribe to? I want to add that to my inbox. I think that sounds fun.
Well, actually, it was one of those marketing things that disguises itself as a word of the day, but I didn't unsubscribe because the words tend to be like pretty unhinged and really kind of useless for for daily life.
Yeah, that's the kind that's
So
the most fun. I want that list.
I know I'll send it to you, but you'll get like financial marketing,
Okay, well,
like
maybe not. We got to find a good one though. I would like an etymology word of the day and like a word origin of the day. That'd be really fun. I wonder if there's
yes.
that. Anyway, thanks so much for sharing that, Jennifer. Really, it was a great poem, and express once again what so many people are feeling, and yet with an interesting creative take on it. So thanks for sharing that, and thanks for keeping poetry relevant.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was Jennifer Blackledge with the word of the day is Widdershins. And you might have noticed as we were looking through that the new Rattle website is out, and the website is much more functional, much more professional, looks really nice. But do pardon our construction, as there are some, broken links and things that we're trying to clean up. The search function doesn't work quite like we intended, but that's the beta testing phase of it. But it is a wonderful new website, so check out rattle.com and let us know what you think. And do also, let me share this. Click the rattle button. We've replaced shares with rattles, and you can just click this little guy right here, and you can give a few rattles to today's poem, and that's a lot of fun. So it's another way to just make poetry a little more interactive, so check that out. Now we're going to take a quick break and go to our main guest. Bethany Jarmul is here, so sit tight, and we'll be right back with more poetry. And we're back. Thanks for your patience. Like I said, today's guest is Bethany Jarmul, a familiar face around these parts. Bethany is an Appalachian poet and writer. She's the author of 2 chapbooks and 1 poetry collection, This Strange and Wonderful Existence, Take Me Home, and the new book, Lightning is a Mother, which we'll be focusing on today. Her writing was selected for Best Spiritual Literature in 2023 and Best Small Fiction in 2024, and nominated for the Pushcart Prize, the Best of the Net, Best Microfiction, and Wigleaf Top 50. So a poet who does a whole lot. BethanyJarmulWriter.wordpress.com is where you can find her. And here she is, Bethany Jarmul. Hey, Bethany, great to see you.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited and honored to be here.
Yeah, well, it's definitely my pleasure to have you. It's been, we've known you for so long, and you've been coming into the, critique of the week and things for years. And it's really cool to have you on to share this new book, Lightning is a Mother. Do you want to start out reading a poem?
Sure. Ready with it?
Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Day 0. Before creation, the formless universe was water, was ocean of immeasurable depths, no shallows. Ghost species, spirits in unimagined bodies, floating in eternity, breathing in centuries, breathing out eons. The entire sea of pre-creation trapped in a figure-8 shaped glass jar called forever. The jar floating in possibilities, prodded by a plethora of amoeba-like pre-atoms of potential, sparking at polarized ends. Then God cracked open the jar and poured us out. You floated into place, I stumbled and gasped. All of us arrived in a vast array.
Yeah, beautiful poem. That's the opening poem, Day 0, a kind of a prelude to the entire book, Lightning is a Mother. And let's see. So Bethany, let me try to. The stream is kind of choppy for you. The audio is fine, but the video is rough. Let me Let me try to close this and come back in 1 second, and we'll see if
Okay.
maybe that fixes it, because I don't understand why it would be like that. Okay, hang on 1 second. So everybody wait for your patience, and we'll be right back. Let me do this.
Maybe turn off
Actually,
my
can you
video.
go out and come back, Bethany, too? And it's
Yeah.
one of us. I don't know who has got a bad
Okay,
connection
yeah.
somehow.
Come,
But it doesn't
like,
say
come
it's...
totally out of it.
Yeah, and come back. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think it just wasn't clearing up, and I think that's going to be an issue, a little annoyance to watch. So let me see if this fixes it. Okay. I'll wait for Bethany to get back. All right. Let's see. There it goes. Yeah, that fixed it. I had a hunch, like the turning it off and turning it back on would do the trick. So hey, Bethany, good to actually see you like moving.
Oh, good. I'm glad it's working now.
Okay. So so that book, Lightning as a Mother, how did that book come to be? What was the thing that made you know you had a collection that was themed around the topics that it is? It deals with, like we saw in that initial poem, really motherhood, nature, and spirituality, and the intermingling of all three. Did you know you were writing on those topics?
Yeah, great question. I think with a lot of debut full-length collections, it starts out as you're just writing poems, right? You don't realize that you're writing a book. You're just writing on whatever interests you. And these were like my themes that kept coming up again and again. And so it just kind of developed into this collection over time. It wasn't something that I knew was happening, from the beginning.
Yeah. And so tell me about your background as a writer, because you do so many things. There's such, there's fiction, there's microfiction, there's creative fiction. You do writing workshops too. How does poetry interplay? Was that your first love?
Oh, it's such a good question. So, I have been writing basically, I feel like I came out of the womb holding a pen. I can never remember a time when I was not writing. And actually, I have my mom, before I could actually write, when I was 3 or 4 years old, I would dictate to my mom and she would write down what I wanted to say. And then I would draw pictures to go along with it and things like that. So I've just been writing and loving the written word, loving to read and write since I was a child. And my first poem was actually published when I was in third grade. It was through the Anthology of Poetry for Young Americans. And, little 9-year-old me just thought it was the best thing ever. And so I think just from a young age, it's something that I've loved. And over the past 2 years, I've really focused in a lot on poetry. I went through a season of time in my early 20s for about 5 years where life just got in the way of my writing. Like my personal creative writing just wasn't happening. And when I came back into writing and really dove back into it and really started to submit to literary magazines for the first time, things like that, it was the beginning of 2021. Still in the middle of the pandemic and things like that. I had a baby at the time. And so I kind of dove back in and I started actually with writing a lot of creative nonfiction pieces, and then wrote creative nonfiction pretty much exclusively for about a year. And then I started to branch out and I started writing flash fiction as well. I discovered something called prose poetry, which I didn't know existed before. Started writing a bunch of prose poems. And then that was like my gateway drug. So I was writing prose poems and then I just started falling more and more in love with poetry, even though I had read a lot of it as a kid and I had written it a lot as a kid and a teenager. I had taken a long break from doing that. So I kind of just dove back in, started taking more classes in that and reading as much as I could. So yeah, for the past, I would say 2 years or so, poetry has been the primary genre that I've been writing in with, I would say, creative nonfiction as well. I continue to enjoy writing that. And I've written a few. Actually, it's funny because my pieces that got published in Best Small Fiction were actually both prose poems. They were published as prose poems.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool because that anthology includes prose poems. They don't make a distinction
Mm-hmm.
between that. So I'm okay with my writing sometimes being in between genres. That's
Mm-hmm.
fine with me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll follow up on that in 1 second. But I think the choppy thing came back. I don't know. It's a strange. It must be something
Oh
wrong with Zoom
no.
tonight. Can you put just put up your picture instead? I
Yeah.
think that's be better because it's weirdly the audio is great. It's just
Okay.
we have like just stills of various facial expressions.
Oh man,
So
that's such
yeah,
a
I know
bummer.
it's a bummer.
I have
Maybe
good
we could
Wi-Fi.
try again in a little bit. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
But
Huh.
anyway, yeah. So sorry for that. But it's still the audio is great. So let's just do that.
Okay.
So yeah. So just turn your video off, and we'll have there we go. Yeah.
Okay.
So this looks like more like one of those old-fashioned, call-in on the TV back when you're like local Channel 8s talking to a reporter on scene before they had video. But anyway, so there you are. So you mentioned the difference between prose and short microfiction and prose poetry, and that's always a question that I'm curious about because to me I have a very clear definition in my view of it, but I don't think it's what other people think of it. So how do you think of the difference between
Mhm.
prose and poetry, or prose poetry and short prose?
Yeah. So for me, if the primary driver is language, then it leans toward prose poetry. And if the primary driver is plot or character, I would say plot really, then that would be leaning more toward fiction or creative nonfiction, depending on if it's true or not. But I'm kind of comfortable with that being a gray area, and that doesn't really bother me.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think when language is the primary concern, that is when it's poetry to me.
Yeah, I think that's a good distinction, and I think to me, slightly differently for me. I think that poetry is actually bodily, and in the fiction, the emphasis is on more interiority and the imagination, what's like appearing in your mind as you're reading. And poetry is the regulation of the breath, and so it's like your whole body getting involved in the language, like you said. So I think that's but of course it's a big gray area. There's a lot of it's a broad line. It's a lot of edge cases that are hard to figure out which one's which, and it ends up being just you put a label on it. But that begs the question, though: do you find that the response to fiction when you publish fiction is better than the response that you get to poetry, because the audience for fiction is bigger, or do you find it's pretty similar because it's sort of literary oriented fiction?
Um, I I haven't been writing a lot of or publishing a lot of fiction in the last couple years, but I would say in general, anything that looks more like prose, regardless of what you want to call it, gets more readers. People are like afraid when they see line breaks. So, like whether it's a prose poem or it's a creative nonfiction piece or fiction, whatever it is, I've found that in general, people are more likely to read it if it doesn't have line breaks, which is kind of sad. But
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. I think that the first piece I ever published was a fiction piece in a science fiction magazine, and they paid. It's like Strange Horizons, I think, and I just thought, oh well, I'll publish poetry too. I got a lot of poems. And then little did I know that wasn't the case everywhere for getting paid for poetry, but. It is a sad fact. Another thing you mentioned I wanted to jump on was that poem you wrote in the third grade. You said that it was published. What do you remember about it? What was the subject?
oh, I still have it. I have the book actually.
Oh
My
yeah.
mom saved a copy of it. Oh yeah. It was titled Camping, and it was
Hmm.
just like a little like descriptive piece about how I felt about camping and like the blue jays singing sweetly and the had lots of adverbs like definitely would not have made it into your young what is your the rattle
Yeah.
anthology
Yeah.
young poets
Uh-huh.
would not have made it in there, that's for sure. But I definitely could see that even at that age I was paying attention to language and I was obviously curious and ready to just keep writing. So
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's hear another poem from the book. What do you want to read next?
Um, let's do Raised in the Hills.
Okay.
All right, raised in the hills. Surrounded by the Appalachians, hidden among the hills, deciduous trees littering the ground with mood ring leaves, God sown into every flower, every breath, Spirit as many rivers flowing, stirring our tongues in prayer, in petition, in penance. I knew of atheists, God haters or God deniers, believers in an ethereal non existence. Astonished, however, to discover the existence of homes of children raised where God was not mentioned at all, not for nor against, not as friend nor foe, not as an invisible force, a wind, a being, a creature, a myth, a thought, a nothing, not even as a nothing at all. As unfathomable to me as having never seen a mountain, a stream, a leaf, having lived an entire existence in a flat, cracked desert.
Yeah, so that poem that was Raised in the Hills from Lightning is a Mother, Bethany Jarmul's new book. And that poem introduces sort of two of the topics that are really strong in the book, both your background in Appalachia and then the sense of spirituality and how that is connected to the land there. So tell us a little about your upbringing and what it was like growing up in Appalachia where you did, and how that shaped your view of literature and what you wanted to do as a writer.
Yeah, great question. I think that it has affected everything in the sense that I think every person, where we come from and how we're raised and our worldview, shapes everything that we do and everything that we write. And so in that sense, in a way, it's kind of shaped everything. When you're a child, you just don't know that there's any other way. You don't know that the way that you're raised and the family that you're raised in, that there's any other way to see the world or to be, a part of that. And so this poem actually was written as a response to, in a way, to a prompt. It was a call for an anthology called Away from Home by Stanchion, put it out. And so I wrote this poem to that call for, and the theme was right about a time when you realized that other people were raised differently than you. Like you saw the world outside of your family and outside of the way you were raised. And so that's where this poem came from. And I'm just so grateful for, that this poem came out of that in the way that I feel about all prompts, which is why I love to write to the prompt lines that what Katie does as well, is because it will often force me to write something that I maybe wasn't brave enough to write on my own. But as soon as that creative spark happens from the from the prompt, then I feel like I have to stay true to that and I have to see it through, even if it's something that scares me to write about, that I have to see that through. So I'm always grateful for that.
Yeah, prompts are just amazing in the way that they can do that. How often do you find that creative spark that you mentioned? It's I don't know, do you usually know before you sit down to write that the spark is there, or is it that you sort of have to fiddle around for a while to figure out where that spark is and if you even have one at all?
Yeah, I often have a lot of false starts. So I'll try something like some idea or line, and it's just not getting anywhere, and I'm banging my head on the wall kind of thing. And then I'll try something else, and that's not working. But once I find that spark, then it just kind of flows out. And that's when I know I have a good poem or a good whatever essay, whatever I'm working on, is when I found that place where I've gotten carried away in the writing itself. I know I've heard you talk about it as the flow state. Mm-hmm. And I definitely think that's what it is, where this perfectly consuming creativity where nothing else matters, everything kind of blurs, and all you can think about and focus on is just writing what's coming out of you. So, and that's really what we live for. is finding that spark and being able to follow it. So
mm-hmm. Do you find that spark is the same whether, regardless of what genre you're writing? Is it the same kind of losing yourself, or is there a different flavor to it when you're writing a different type of poem or type of piece of writing?
I think it's the same, because sometimes I don't even know what genre I'm writing. I think also I should say that I primarily work in flash length pieces. So even when I'm writing prose, it's very compressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so flash is generally 1,000 words or less. Most of my prose has been like micro size. So it's very compressed with the language. So it feels very similar to me, regardless of what genre I'm writing. I think why I have gravitated more toward poetry and creative nonfiction is I'm not as interested in plot. Just like as a reader, even like I don't really care
Mm-hmm.
about the plot if I'm reading a book. I care about the characters, I care about the development, I care about how it's helping me to see the world in a new way. And I care a lot about how it's written and the writing at the sentence level.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, those are the things that I'm looking for, and that's what I hope comes through in my writing.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible to have, a much stronger emphasis on those elements within fiction, or do you think that ends up like too rich cake when you do that? Like, have you found a writer that has the density and concentration of a poem and yet can sustain that long enough, or do you think it's just too much?
Oh, I think it's there in Flash for sure.
Uh huh.
Like if you read like Kathy Fish, who's like one of the best flash fictionists out there, like her flash fiction, in my opinion, could easily be a prose poem because it's so rich and dense. So I think it's definitely possible, but not over the course of a novel generally. So a longer piece like that. I do appreciate and enjoy lyric essays, and I see that coming through, that poetic, lyric language coming through, and I appreciate that as well. But I am so drawn to poetry because it's so compressed. So I kind of get like that feeling that you get when you're reading something that's really powerful. You can get that in like 30 seconds with a poem. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
it's a haiku, you can get it in 10 seconds. Whereas you might have to read a whole novel or a whole essay or whatever it is to get that feeling. And so it's kind of addictive almost, to just read really great writing, especially great poems, because it just packs a more powerful punch, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that definitely makes sense. Do you want to read the next poem? My 9-year-old self dreams of success while stringing green beans.
Sure. My 9-year-old self dreams of success while stringing green beans. Owning a garage, especially with 2 stalls, a refrigerator that makes ice, a dress from JCPenney's at full price, ordering Coke at a restaurant, Cap'n Crunch cereal, American Girl dolls, Barbie houses, new tennis shoes, anything not handed down, riding an escalator, 3-story or 6-story buildings, light up billboards, a store I've only heard about called Macy's, living in a city, nearby a city, driving to a city, visiting, touring, vacationing, bragging about having seen, entered, lived in something called a city. I'll be a famous movie star when grown up me lives there. I'll own a purse sized chihuahua with its own ice maker in our 2-stall garage.
Yeah, it's a fun poem. That is My 9-year-old self dreams of success while stringing green beans by Bethany Jarmul from her newest book, Lightning is a Mother. And so that's a poem that goes into those Appalachian roots. And, when I was a kid, we sort of, it's a different kind of area, but in Rochester, which is a Rust Belt city, and it has seen much better days, and economic times are often tough. And, to me, I always had a weird sense and a really misplaced sense of pride in like not having stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I wonder about that. I was thinking about that when I read this poem. It can sort of seem to go either way, like one way or the other. Whether or not you appreciate things more, or like you rebel and refuse to appreciate things. And I went the latter way, where it's like I'm going to take pride in the thrift store clothes that I'm wearing. And I still don't to this day know why that is. Do you have any sense of that, about why you chose to long for the 2-stall garage versus refuse to accept it when it arrived?
I mean, I think in this poem, it's like the fantasy, which I think every kid can kind of dream of, what will my life be like one day when I grow up, and how will it be different from what I'm experiencing right now. And so I think I learned a lot of really great things from my parents, like to be really frugal and how to make money go far, and budgeting, like all the good stuff that I've been able to carry into my adult life. So I think there are some valuable lessons that were learned. But I think, yeah, I mean, as a kid, there are things you want that you can't have. So
Yeah. Well, along the same lines, let's read the next poem. I think, "The Home I Abandoned."
The Home I Abandoned. I'd touch our home, the red brick house at the end of a dead-end street, with my heels, our neighbors with my palms. Scripture hanging on the walls, my father's fiddle atmospheric in folk song, hymn. A cracked alley, hills with oak, maple, sycamore leaves loose. The Appalachians as makers, mothers, or captors. The girl who caught fireflies in Tupperware, bare toes in moss, marveled at hail clinking against the tin awning over the porch.
Yeah, another vivid poem. That was "The Home I Abandoned" by Bethany Jarmul from Lightning as a Mother. And so your sense of spirituality that comes through in this book, what is it like? How much has it developed over time? And where do you stand now with this? There's a sense of nature being the source of spirituality in a way that isn't typical Christian, even though Christian imagery comes up a lot in this poem. So where do you stand on thinking about all those things?
Yeah. So I'm a Christian. I still identify as a Christian. And I think that my faith has developed it's changed since I was a kid for sure, and it's developed in different ways. I think over the last couple of years, it's been sometimes hard to say you're a Christian when people think you mean something that you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like if do you mean that you're like a Christian nationalist or something like that, which is like the opposite of Jesus's teaching. So I think it's something that I have grown in my faith. I have wrestled with it over the years, and continue to walk the journey of faith through
Mm-hmm.
my life and through my writing as well. So yeah.
Yeah. We had a Poets of Faith issue. I think it was issue number 40, maybe, of Rattle, and I was shocked at how much backlash there was over that issue. I mean, we had a tribute to law enforcement poets too that had some backlash, and I expected that, but I was not expecting as much from the Poets of Faith issue. We got a lot of, and then actually, weirdly, if you look a few issues later, we got a whole bunch of atheist poems as people were responding to that just in the open section of the issue. But that is something that always interesting to me, because I mean, just how have you experienced trying to publish poems that have a lot of spirituality going in them? Do you find that they're harder to publish than the poems that don't have a faith-oriented type place? Because I know, a lot of literary magazines are housed in colleges, and especially on campuses, the faith is diminishing greatly. Do you find that it's harder to find homes for those poems? And because I find that the readership and the publishing landscape is sort of segmented. There's some sort of Christian faith-based places, and most are sort of, I don't know if intolerant is the right word, but there's some negative feeling about faith itself, which is always surprising to me.
Yeah, I think you're right. There are Christian literary magazines out there, and there are also Christian presses that are publishing stuff. I've kind of felt in some ways like some of my stuff wasn't Christian enough for them, but also was too faith-based for some other publications sometimes. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to be myself in my work. And it just would be dishonest of me to not represent that part of who I am and where I've come from as well. And so I'm just trying to, write about my life and the things that matter to me, and however that falls. I guess it's, if they want to reject me because of a certain theme, that's fine. That's okay with me. There's other places out there that won't. And I'll just keep writing what I feel like I'm led to write. So.
Yeah, well, let's see. Let's do another poem.
What do you have next? I think I'm out of order.
Yeah, next up is As in the Days of Noah. So speaking of those themes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. And actually, this is the prose poem. It was published as a prose poem, but it was also published in the best small fictions anthology as well. One of the two that I had in there. So,
yeah.
Okay. As in the days of Noah. Ironically, it started with the fires. Little fires on the park swings, books from the library, in the kitchen sink, little fires in the driveways of people you would meet, on the stairwells of the hospital, in your mother's mudroom. Buckets of water you would pour upon them, yet they burned brighter still. No one seemed concerned, not your mother, your husband, not your children, as you grabbed their tiny arms and led them away from the smoke, ash, flame. Then came the 100-year rain. The deniers refuse to admit there is a flood, that it's even raining. They sip cocktails, get massages in members-only resorts. They book tickets for luxury passenger liners deemed unsinkable ships. They buy up flooded properties on which to build their homesteads, their mansions. The entrepreneurs sell blow-up palm trees and plastic flamingos as life rafts. They offer 10 for $5 party balloons. The solution, they say, is plastic and rubber containers filled with hot air. The sinkers claim that drowning is the best and truest good. They throw parties in which they sew metal marbles into the seams of their clothes, tie sandbags around their necks with colorful cords, and swallow osmium pellets like chocolate bonbons. Oxygen, they say, is just oppression. Let's all drown together. Let's all drown. Yet you find one small maple tree and cling to it as the fires rage and the waters rise and the hail assaults you. Something real and beautiful, maybe fragile, is rooted here, and you twist your body into a knot around it, willing your children to use you as an anchor or rope because it's all you have to offer, because it's everything. All pretenses stripped away, trembling, clutching the smallest sprouts at the top of the tiniest tree, holding your children by the scruffs of their necks, you whisper a prayer. You look up, perhaps toward heaven, perhaps toward the stomach of the storm, perhaps in a final attempt to resist before surrender. You see a dove gliding through the sky, in its apricot beak, a green twig being consumed by fire.
Yeah, what a great image to end on, that twig being consumed by fire. That's the end of As in the Days of Noah from Bethany Jarmul's book, Lightning is a Mother. And that's always a fascinating topic to me, the fact that, we always, and it's every generation ever, we feel like we're in a Noah story. I mean, no matter, if you look back at the Armageddon stories from the Bible, those were, set 100 years after, Jesus was born. And that was, now 1900 years ago. And, we have all these things, every generation has, barbarians at the gates that could be the end times, or, climate change now, or nuclear war in the past generation, World War II, World War I. You can go on and back, and there's always a reason why we think it's the end. And it's just so fascinating. I think what do you think is the root of that? Why do we always feel like that? And why do the Noah story always resonate with us so much?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't think I have the answer to that question, Timothy Green. I think that we all have felt that fear of, is this thing going to end it all? Is this thing going to, disrupt our lives, the way, whatever that thing is. So I think that some of it is just fear based. But also there's the realities of what, the facts can be scary.
Yeah, it's definitely, there always seems to be a reason why this could be it. And I wonder
Yeah.
if, would we get bored maybe if there wasn't that possibility on the horizon? I don't know. So going back to that wonderful last image in this longer, since it's a prose poem that in its apricot beak, a green twig being consumed by fire. Do you remember how that image came to you as you were writing this poem and what the writing process was like?
Yeah, so I had this poem came to me mostly fully formed. However, I had the ending with the dove and the green twig. Um, and I had a poet friend who read my work and said, no, 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 this ending is too easy. You need to complicate it. And I said, yep, you're right. Then I came up with this, well, what if it's being consumed by fire? And then that ties back to the beginning with it started with the fire. And I was like, that's perfect. This is the perfect ending. So yes, you need poet friends. You need community and people who are going, writing groups, poetry groups that are going to help give you feedback. I think it's really important. It's an important part of my process. And it's just a great part of being a part of the writing community and the poetry community, I think. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, along the lines of faith, again, there's a really great question from Dick Westheimer. He says, since poetry is a process for discovery, I find my atheism sometimes challenged by my poems. I wonder if the same thing happens for believers. Like, do you ever find your belief challenged by your own poems?
I wouldn't say my belief, but sometimes like it could quite like maybe like religiosity more so, if that makes sense. So for me, it's not about the religion. It's about having a relationship with Christ, and that is what my faith is based on, not the religion. And so sometimes I find like my things that have been religious patterns perhaps challenged through my writing, which I think is actually good and healthy process. So yeah, I embrace that, and I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anything that could come from my writing. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid to explore whatever is there, and whatever comes out of it. Yeah.
Are there ever things that come out that shock and surprise you? That I mean, it's one thing not to be afraid of them, but still you can be sort of put aback, and then you find that interesting. Does that experience happen to you, or you're sort of shocked by your own writing?
Yeah, I think so. Certain images, certain phrases that you're like, where did that even come from? Like, how did that even come out? Yeah, I've definitely been surprised by my writing before.
Yeah,
I love it to be surprised.
Yeah, it seems to me that's like really like we mentioned the flow, but the flow really is that feeling that the writing is coming from the other, whatever that other is. And it's very easy to see how that feeling could feel like a spirituality, like there's something in the divine pushing your pen forward, And do you feel that way when you're writing sometimes that it's something higher than you that's pushing the poem forward?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that God has given me this ability to write. Like, I think it was kind of innate in me when I was born. And that's not to say that, like, I just was born being a great writer. Not to say that at all. But, like, that the seed was there, that, has been watered and grown. And so I think that there is something very close to when you're writing a poem and you're allowing yourself to not have that willful will. I've heard you say that phrase a lot, and I love that. To not have that willful will is kind of a sense of surrender, in the same way that we want to surrender. I want to surrender to God, and be willing for whatever comes to come out. And so I'm not going to be like, yes, God was moving my pen and made me write this poem. But I think I'm open to, my spirit being open to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I would never say God is writing through me, but yeah, I mean, to be open to being led that way, for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So to allow yourself to be a conduit for something beyond yourself, I think is maybe the definition of art. Like that's what all artists really are trying to do, is be the the filament that lights up from whatever energy is hidden there in the unknown. And I think that's a really good way to put it too. So that makes sense. Let's do the next poem. The next one up is Appalachian Litany.
Appalachian Litany, after the Lord's Prayer. After this manner, therefore, pray to remember our fathers and grandfathers who art under the ground, some still breathing, still sweating, still bleeding, still cutting, still drilling, still loading, their hands calloused and coal-coated, their lungs too. Our mothers and grandmothers who birthed us, their hands quick to mend, to feed by cast iron skillet, to slap bacon on a wound or chop it up in bean soup. Their hands burnt, needle pricked, water pruned. Hallowed be the vent shafts, the coal tipples, the coke ovens. Hallowed be the dirt road hollers, the cold mountain creeks, the pickerel frogs. Hallowed be the red-winged blackbirds and red-bellied woodpeckers. Thy kingdom come in Pentecostal churches where we learn to speak in tongues, where we sipped grape juice and nibbled stale crackers for communion, where we were slain by the Spirit, prostrate and quivering on wine-colored carpet. Thy will be done on this earth where we've exploded the mountaintops, where the slurry seeped into the streams, where the air reeks of ebony dust, soot, and smoke, where we've havocked habitats of black bears, of bog turtles, of trout. Give us this day our pepperoni rolls and moonshine. Give us means to feed ourselves and our babies. Give us a tyrant-free town. Forgive us the rusted-out trucks we abandoned along I-79. Forgive us the rent we couldn't pay after the layoffs during the strikes. Forgive us when we took the bread, the milk, the diapers we needed, plus the pack of Camels and some snuff. Lead us not into the temptation to flee these mountains where our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents grew roots down into the guts of the hills, down into the shale, down into the caverns, both natural and man-blasted. Deliver us from oppression, pollution, pauperism, from fear. Deliver us from the bosses. Deliver us from ourselves. For these mountains are a kingdom and power and glory forever. Amen.
Yeah, it's a beautiful litany of a love song to the mountains in Appalachia. That was Appalachian Litany by Bethany Jarmul. And you could feel the flow in the language, coming out there, starting with that Lord's Prayer rhythm and then letting it come out. Was this a poem that was written in one, short sitting too?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a longer poem, so it took some time, but the idea was there, and so I just kind of picked it up. If I had to step away, I'm a mom, so I get interrupted often and have to care for my kids, but it was still going on in my head, If it wasn't all in one sitting, it was still happening in my head until I got down to get back to the paper.
Do you find it hard to get back to the paper? And that's something I remember Lucille Clifton talking about when we interviewed her, is that having that so much short time to be able to write as a mother, making your attention be able to shift a lot more quickly, and you can, if you have a few minutes, getting into that zone. And then getting out of it again, and having no sense that you need like the perfect situation in order to write. Is that a skill you developed?
Oh man, have I learned that, Tim? I always joke because you always hear the advice, and the advice is always set aside a place that's clean and no one's going to interrupt you, and let it be, the same time every day, and lock the door and don't let anyone in and don't let anyone interrupt you. And I'm like, whoever wrote this advice was not a parent. So my writing space is our living room, which is often full of toys and, crackers on the floor and just mess, because I have two young kids. And also absolutely, like, I have to write in small pockets of time often. So both my kids are preschool age. So they go to preschool 3 days a week, half a day. So those are like my concentrated writing time when I'm not interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other days of the week, writing is like my guilty pleasure, if you will. Like other people might be running to watch that show that they really want to watch or whatever. And I'm running to my notebook and squeezing in whatever writing I can do, or my laptop to do edits, or submit to literary magazines while something else is happening. So that sense of like, this is something that I get to do, that I love to do, that I sneak in to different times throughout the day. It really puts the pressure on to like, you're going to get words down. Like, it might not be a good poem. I'm not saying I'm writing a great poem when I'm out the door to pick up my kids, but I'm going to write something because this is the 10 minutes I've got. So something's going to get written. And so having that pressure where there's a time pressure, but also there's this sense of like, I'm, getting this little pocket of time and I'm going to use it. And it's like something that I really enjoy to do. I think has really helped my writing immensely. I'm not sure that I would have written as much, honestly, if I wasn't under that feeling of like, I got to write now or it's not going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. There's sort of a curse of abundance, kind of. If you have time to do whatever you want at all times, then you never end up doing anything because you can always put it off and not appreciate the moment that you have. And so it's a good lesson there.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, at this point, I should say, if you're enjoying this conversation, make sure you click the like button. There are many more people who have watching live that have clicked like, and it always helps if you do spread poems around in those little sidebars and whatnot. Also, if you have any questions for Bethany, please leave them in the chat windows. Dick Westerheimer already left a good one. If you leave a question, try to bold the word or all cap the word question so I can see it more easily as I scroll around, because it does get to be a lot of comments. But ask any questions you want, and I'll pass them along. Also, Bethany, do you want to flip on your video again and see maybe if that got fixed?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't happening at first. It's back, I think. It's back to normal. Okay. Well, hello. I wonder.
Oh, there's my face.
If it starts freezing again, we'll have to do it again. But I think I don't know what that was. Yeah.
That's so weird. I've never had that problem, so I don't know.
Yeah. You're on the you're a guest on the open lines all the time. So, but sometimes the servers at Zoom, something weird's happening and you just can't control it. But I'm glad it's better now.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's see. How many poems do we have left? We have, I scrolled away. Let's do, I bought a backpack of 20 pregnancy tests.
Oh yeah. Bought a pack. Yeah.
Okay.
I bought a pack of 20 pregnancy tests. Yeah. It's funny, Tim. Sorry, I don't read the poem, but it's funny because a lot of these poems in here are about motherhood, and I only picked one about motherhood. So here it is. It was really pre-motherhood. I bought a pack of 20 pregnancy tests. The heart-ripping agony of one blue line again. We curl our bodies into a question mark and whisper our emptiness through dry lips. A blue jay birthed from blue heavens builds her nest in the wet branches of an oak out our kitchen window. You give her a name, Blue. When you say it, it's an exhalation. If hope is a thing with feathers, perhaps it's a black-throated blue warbler, an eastern bluebird, a blue grosbeak. You report on Blue. She has a silver shoelace in her beak. Her mate swoops and hollers, I'll call him Cobalt. Can these tiny sky-colored pills cause eggs to release, bring them from my ovaries like overdue prayers? Blue and Cobalt use their bodies to warm 4 sky-speckled eggs. What if the eggs are empty, air wrapped in calcite? What if my body is a permanent vacancy, a cracked glass jar, a bullet-riddled balloon? Perhaps hope is a blue whistling thrush, a blue waxbill, a great blue heron. I try medications, declarations, meditations, relaxation trips, doctor's visits where my womanhood is laid bare, examined, poked, prodded, interrogated. The months pile up like unopened diapers. In a barren room, we plead prayer, scribble them in ink. Perhaps hope is a blue-eared starling, a blue and white flycatcher, a blue-throated bee-eater. On a night full of moon, I take one last test. 2 blue lines, strong and clear. At the peak of dawn, blue sings and the sun shines green through the trees.
Yeah, beautiful poem. I love all those repetitions in there of the blues. I bought a pack of 20 pregnancy tests. Unfortunately, Bethany, the choppiness has come back. I
Okay.
guess it's just it's not buffering enough. I don't know if they don't have enough cache or something. But anyway, yeah. But sorry about that. But yeah, that's a beautiful poem. And again, another one of those litany type, you know, you can feel the run of the rhythm propelling the poem forward in a lot of sections of that. Another great example I brought a pack of 20 pregnancy tests from Lightning as a Mother. One of the things I wanted to ask about, Bethany, was your social media presence. You're sort of you're very active on social media and you know, teaching workshops and you know, promoting your website and doing all sorts of things. What has your experience been with that? Do you enjoy it? Do you feel like it's something that you just have to do as a writer? You know, I know a lot of writers who say, "Oh gosh, I have to have social media or else, you know, I'm not going to be able to reach anybody."
Yeah.
And then there's some that don't though and somehow manage, and there are a lot that just disappear without
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
do you find a way, I guess my question is, do you find a way to enjoy it? Because, you know, even for me, I get tired of it very often. And I don't know, do you find a way to
Yeah.
enjoy social media and that kind of sort of marketing?
Yeah, I really enjoy social media for the community aspect of it. Um, so especially when I started this journey, like I didn't know anyone else who was doing this. Like I didn't know any other poets. I didn't know anyone who was writing and publishing in literary magazines. And so like if it wasn't for social media, I'm not sure I would still be doing this because I wouldn't have found the people that I found and the communities that I'm now a part of, which are all primarily online. And that's what kind of works with my life right now with having two young kids. I know that there's a vibrant poetry community here in Pittsburgh where I live, and I've gone to a few events and I know that it's out there, but my life just is not conducive to being able to be out and at a bunch of events. And so I can do is do this, what I'm doing with you right now, getting online and talking to people that way. And so I really enjoy the community aspect of it. And then as far as like teaching webinars, I I just started doing them. I just said, like, I have this knowledge that I have gained. So I guess to back up a little bit, when I came to onto the literary scene, if you will, you know, I don't have an MFA or any kind of advanced degree. I just have an undergraduate degree. And like I said, I didn't have any connections. I kind of figured it all out as I went. And I had this desire to help other people and to help them, people who are in my shoes, who were stay-at-home moms or were working, you know, multiple jobs or whatever. We're just trying to figure out this literary world and how it all works. And I just wanted to like help people, and I enjoy talking about writing. And so I just like, well, what happens if I started teaching webinars? Would people come? And they showed up. They signed up and they liked it and they told me I was great at it. And so I was like, awesome, I'm just going to keep doing this. And it's grown a lot. I've had like 250 people over the past 2 years who have come to at least one of my webinars or classes. And I also make them so that you don't have to commit to a lot of time. They're basically built for people who were like me, just like living their regular lives, but they wanted to do some literary things and to learn some stuff. And so they're either on weekends or in the evenings, so that they're available for everyone. They're low cost, like they're $25 or less. You know, some of them are $15. So I just try to make it accessible for everyone. And I have this motto that's basically like my mission statement as a writer, and that's to pursue excellence in the craft of writing and to help others do the same. And so that's one of the ways I feel like I'm able to do that is through teaching the webinars, as well as being a part of the communities that I'm a part of and being willing to like give feedback and help other people. And I just love to help new writers who have never published anything before, or people who are struggling or trying to figure out what's the next step for me. And I certainly don't know everything, but whatever I know, I want to share.
Yeah, that's really interesting. We've talked to a few guests, quite a few guests, I'd say, who talk about the demise of the MFA program as something that's sort of imminent, you know, because the way MFA programs work, it really is like a pyramid scheme. It's like a multi-level marketing thing where if you climb to the top of the mountain, all that tuition fees, it starts to go to you at the top of the pyramid. But for most people, they're going to end up just with a big bill. And so the motivation as a kind of career, you know, there's that whole idea of poetry becoming too much of a career that Dana Gioia talks about a lot back in that old essay of his, and when he was on the Rattlecast too. And with that career drying up so much, people like Jennifer Jean have talked about, you know, she taught adjunct as an adjunct for so long at 4 different schools at once, trying to make ends meet, teaching all these different courses, and finally realized that private, I think she's working for an organization that sets it up and does workshops, but that's where she's teaching now. It's not an MFA program. And do you feel like that is the future? Because there's a way that MFA programs are great. They're really wonderful because you get to be around all these people that love literature and love the thing that you do, and then you get to be better at it. You know, and that is like a great motivation thing. It feels great to be in a program, but then the ultimate end game is sort of a dead end. And do you think you can get most of that through these alternative ways of learning poetry? And do you think that is something that's going to be growing more and more, like Jennifer Jean does?
I don't know, Tim. I mean, part of me still wants the MFA. I would never pay for it, though. I would only do it if they were paying me, like a fully funded type of program. But I agree with what you're saying, that a lot of it you can do yourself. And that's what I've really tried to do, to be honest, over the past years, is like, I'm always reading. I'm reading, the next craft book, whatever craft book comes out. I'm also just reading a lot of poetry or a lot of whatever I'm writing, genre I'm writing in. And then also I'm, in these several wonderful poetry groups where I'm getting a part of that community. I'm getting feedback on my work. I feel like I've learned certainly as much as someone would learn in an MFA. But I mean, I'm just greedy to learn more. I just want to keep learning and learning. Like, I'm just one of those, even as a kid, I just loved school because I just wanted to learn everything that there was to know. And I just want to learn more. So I have this kind of drive in me to just, if there's any possible way I can learn more and grow as a writer, then that's what I want to do. And that's kind of why I have that mission statement to say, like, that my goal is not anything related necessarily to publication or a certain level of, I don't know, like reaching those certain level, like you said, up the pyramid scheme. But it's really just about wanting to continue to improve in my craft and continue to grow and learn as a human being and also as a writer. And so any opportunity that I have to do that, regardless of what it is, I'm going to take that. But I'm not going to go into debt to get an MFA. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I draw the line.
So going back to the 250 students you've had at your seminars online, what is their motivation tend to be to want to write? Because I think that's one of the other problem that we come across so often is that wanting to become a famous poet, it's almost like wanting to become a famous baseball player. I'd love to be pitching on the Mets right now, but there's a lot of competition, and there's only very few slots. It goes to that, just the numbers game of it. And yet there's poetry is so enriching. Like, just making any art is enriching, but there's something special about poetry because it's so innate to humanity. It's the word, the logos. Go back to the Bible. Yep. It's such something we're imbued with. It's the thing that makes it special. And we have all these ways that sharing our stories in this oral, bodily way is so valuable to our psychology even. And so I always hope that there are people who don't want to have that, like, I need to climb to the top. I just want to write, and I want to get better at expressing myself. I want to be able to have my family hear my stories in a way that they want to read. Or do you find that's the case in a lot of your students, or are they more people that are trying to climb the rungs of the literary institutions?
I think more people just wanting to learn, especially because the people who are taking mine are not people who care that I don't have a PhD or an MFA, right? Mm-hmm. So if they're willing to take a class from me, then they're probably not the people that are looking for the most prestigious person around to give them to learn from. I think more people. I'm sure there are people who just want to climb the ladder,
Mm-hmm.
but I hope that there are more people that are genuinely interested in poetry and in writing because it enriches their life and because it's something that helps them to understand the world. Um, that's why I'm interested in it. So,
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have two quick questions, and then we'll do the last poem. So first, J.C. Woods wants to know this. So using the 10 minutes you have really resonates with me. Are there things you do in addition to writing that helps you hone your craft? So in addition to writing, and you talked about reading a lot of craft books and teaching, I'm sure helps. Is there anything else that helps maybe outside the box that you hadn't mentioned?
man, just reading a lot. And I really, really highly recommend getting in a poetry group or a writing group to get feedback. I think just those two things. If you're reading and if you are actively giving others feedback and receiving feedback, and doing so with a humble spirit, I think that you're going to grow. Your writing is going to grow and improve
Mm-hmm.
a lot. I know that's
Yeah.
not anything like groundbreaking, but I think too many people try to do it themselves. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but I think there's so much value to be had in doing it in community.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. And then another quick question. This is Matthew Joseph. He says, how and how much do your children factor in your writing? I think we talked about how the time, the lack of time and the way you have to fill in gaps has made it, sort of more committed and more appreciative of the time you have. But beyond that, do you write about your children often? Do you find them as a source of inspiration on that level?
yeah. So I mean, that's one of the themes of this book, and that's why mother's in the title too,
Mm-hmm.
is because it's a wrestling with, and I didn't read a lot of those poems tonight, but a wrestling with my identity as a mother. And like, wow, it just changes everything when you become a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that I feel like I've been changed on like the molecular level becoming a mother. So I don't know how it could not affect everything. My
Mm-hmm.
husband, my husband does like tease me sometimes because he'll be like, can you write about anything other than like motherhood and like Appalachia? Like, is there anything else you can write about?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yes, I do. I can. But there's certainly themes that come up again and again. And some of it is like, that's my life right now with having two
Mm-hmm.
young kids. It's like a lot of my day is spent being a mom. And so of course that's going to come through in my writing because that's what I'm doing every day. And so, yeah, I think it has really, really affects everything in my writing and how I see the world and what I hope to instill in them as well. Like I hope that they have a love of literature and of reading and of poetry, from a young age. So that's something I try to grow in them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I really like what you said about the changing on a molecular level. I felt the same way. Like as soon as I had kids, it was like, to me, it was like I can't die,
Yeah.
which just seems like some weird statement or something. But really, I sort of cultivated this carefree view of the world where like in a really studying Zen Buddhism and things like that. Where I was letting things just go so much. It was just notan everywhere and just enjoying life for what it gave. And then all of a sudden you're thrust into this responsibility where you can't do that anymore. Like
Yeah.
I can't snuff myself out in a gasp of nirvana, even if I could, because then who would feed the kids? And so I have to stick around here for at least a while. And that really, I mean, that changes everything. So it was a big change for me too. And how would you characterize the change in being a mother?
Oh man.
Can you put it that molecular level? Can you put any more clarity into that?
I think that it forces you to realize how selfish you were before, and it forces you to be selfless very quickly. Especially when they're newborn and you're up all night, and like I would say if, I always had really good sleep hygiene. That's what they call it, right? Like, I always got 8 hours a night of sleep before I became a mom. And suddenly it's like even the most basic things like sleeping and eating are different. You can't just sleep. Like, you think like, oh, at least I can sleep, but no, you can't. And so I think that it just forces you to serve and be a lot more selfless than you are before, where, maybe you realize how much of your life was just doing what you wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so fascinating that is the same journey as the spiritual journey. If you look at comparative religions, what they have in common is always trying to find a way to move from a self-centered perspective to a universe-centered perspective on the world, or on your existence. And having kids is like a big ratchet up in that, from not being centered on yourself to being centered on, it starts out with a family, but then can expand from there too. And it's interesting that that's all sort of all tied into the same journey,
Mm-hmm.
Here, one last quick question. This is a real lightning round type question, but Shape Soup wants to know, Bethany, I'm guessing Mary Oliver is your third favorite poet. How close am I? So that's a very precise prediction. Is Mary Oliver your third favorite poet?
I do like Mary Oliver. I will say I'm not a Mary Oliver hater. Some people don't like her, but I do.
Well, who would be your top two? Let's say Shape Soup is right. Who would be above Mary Oliver?
Oh, wow. I feel like there's so many people that I have admired and read their work. Ada Limon for sure. I do love Mary Oliver. I have really enjoyed Sarah Moore Wagner, who's like maybe not as well known, but she writes a lot about Appalachia and some of the themes that I write about. So I appreciate her work a lot. Oh gosh, I don't know. It's like every poet I read, I get something from them. So it's hard for me to like choose favorites because I like to read everything.
Yeah. Well, that's a great list. I think you did a good job listing some poets. So excellent work. And Shape of Soup says, nailed it.
Okay.
All right. So let's close out with one last poem, Bethany. I think the last one was Sanctuary toward the end of the book.
Yes, and I chose this one in honor of you and Katie's wedding coming up.
Thank you.
So this is my love poem to my husband, and it has hints of West Virginia, where I was raised, and also we live in Pittsburgh now, so like the yellow bridges come up, which is like an icon of Pittsburgh. So Sanctuary. Before I met you, I was a deer trapped in a maze of skyscrapers, headlights hurling around me in every direction. In your eyes, I found a meadow with tender grasses, daisies, and harebells. Your arms are a forest not unlike the one where I was born, thick with maple, oak, and sycamore, dotted with acorns and nuts, a sanctuary for the squirrels and for me. I've discovered new wilderness before, but it was filled with black bears, with wolves, with hunters camouflaged as mountain laurel. Now, when I'm lost on a one-way street or a tangle of yellow bridges, I stumble back to the arboretum of you. Your mouth is a babbling brook of sweet, cold water. I return for a sip, then a second, always one more.
Beautiful poem. Great way to end, and thanks for that dedication too, Bethany. I appreciate that. That was Sanctuary by Bethany Jarmul from her new book, Lightning is a Mother. Bethany, thanks so much for being a guest tonight. It's been a lot of fun talking and sharing your poems, looking into this book.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Take care, and we'll see you around for sure, I'm sure.
Okay, bye.
All right, take care. And yeah, that was Bethany Jarmul. You can find all of Bethany's work, plus her writing seminars that she was talking about, her non-poetry or fiction and things too, at her website, which is BethanyJarmulWriter.wordpress.com. That's Bethany, Bethany. Jarmul is Jarmul, writer.wordpress.com. Find the book. Find Lightning as a Mother there too, and hope you enjoy it. So pick up a copy. Now we are going to go to our prompt lines next. As you know, in the prompt for this week was to write a poem that includes an unexpected vow. And it's no coincidence, as Bethany mentioned, Katie and I are getting married in 2 days. And so that's a little nod to that. Write a poem that includes an unexpected vow. And if you'd like to share one, if you have a poem like this, remember it's a one-page max. Also, we're trying to make a sort of a 3-minute max on time. We want to get everybody in. We don't want to stay up forever. We got to catch a 4 a.m. flight tomorrow. So the max time on camera should be 3 minutes if you can. So if it's like a really short poem, feel free to be chatty. If it's a longer poem, even though it's one page, just jump right in. But email your poem first to promptlines@rattle.com. That's promptlines, all one word, at rattle.com. If you email me your poem first, I can put it up on screen and show it to everybody like we were seeing with Bethany's poems as you read. And then find the Zoom link after you do that, only after you email it. Find the Zoom link, which I'm about to deploy on the streams on Facebook and on YouTube. So there you go. So join us on the Zoom, but only if you have a poem to share. If you have, if you just have some time and want to sit and enjoy other people's poems, which is a wonderful thing to do, sit tight right where you are, because the best place to watch it is right where you are on the stream, where you can see all the poets and the audio is mixed and everything. But if you would like to jump on the Zoom and share a poem based on this prompt, go to there now, and we'll be right back with more poetry. And we're back. Thanks so much for your patience as we rearrange the furniture. I'm here with our prompt poems editor and my fiancée, Katie Dozier.
Yes.
Last time we'll be able to say that.
Yeah, the packing is going on in the bedroom during the Rattlecast, so thank you for the entertainment with you and Bethany.
Yeah, we're zooming off and having a lot of fun, so looking forward to the morning. But we have the rest of the prompt lines to do. And what do you have? What did you write this week, Katie?
Okay, well, I thought it was going to be a really easy prompt because we wrote our wedding vows, which we're not going to share, but we wrote our wedding vows, but I realized it was actually kind of hard to write real vows and then a not real vow. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I quite accomplished a not real vow, but we'll see. Okay. Destination. The first paintings that the movers wrapped up wore ball gowns, layers and layers of plastic wrap. Each a time capsule, sure to outlive the bangs and the scratches of each move, and sure to outlive us too. But the furniture from later on just got a flimsy once around. They used plastic wrap like children use time, and inevitably ran out. My great-grandmother's painting became too scratched to even mount. Now I vow to never again run out. Unpacking for the last time. I do.
Yeah, that is great. I really love that Hyben, great haiku at the end. And I love that you turned a poem into this true story. It was really.
It was really funny when we moved. Yeah. Well, you're the one who pointed it out.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
me.
So we had these movers when we moved into this new house, and they were it's a young moving company.
They were trying so hard, and I love them. They were great.
They were very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning, they were wrapping everything, so even things that were just like a junky IKEA.
Like an IKEA dresser wrapped like 20 times,
Yeah.
like gold.
And then after like they did the office first, and then
Right.
and then after that they ran out of their stuff, and so all the actual valuable furniture was completely unwrapped. But anyway,
To be fair, they didn't actually scratch the painting. That was for dramatic effect, but it could have happened. But we ended up moving most of the paintings ourselves because we didn't trust anyone.
Very easily could have. But they did a great job. They really did.
They did.
Yeah. But wonderful turning that story into a poem, and that haiku was great with the multi cuts there. Unpacking for the last time I do.
I was pretty proud of that one. Thank you.
Yeah, that's very nice. All right. so that was Katie's poem, Destination, and here's mine. And mine is based on this. I wonder if you remember this. This is a thing. It's based on Lizzie.
Aww.
Do you remember this this little thing she said? So this is
She says so many things.
She does, I know. So this is the vow to maybe. Okay. So and this is a tetrameter sonnet for you.
Well, that's impressive. More than your old slapdash hyben that I got.
Well, it's easier to write. I was on the plane.
Oh, you read
And
this on the plane.
Yeah, and
even
then
though it's turbulent.
Yeah, and so it's easier to write form in your head because you can keep track of the lines. And then I could write like some down one that was like a bumpy section. I could sort of think of stuff and then write it down when there was a smooth section.
That is commitment.
It was a rough ride.
Wow.
So that made this more. It was easier. Okay.
Okay.
The vow to maybe. She said he made a maybe promise. At first, it seemed naive, almost an open lie, his fingers crossed behind his back, as if the crust of truth could prove too much of truth to chew. A subtle word to soothe, 2 syllables to cut against the sharpness of the hidden fence he propped her hopes upon. And yet this world is full of vows unkept. Most seeds we sow and then forget, their saplings wilt, and all we've swept aside. This kind of pinky swear is half the truth, but twice aware.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, I've never heard that phrase. But she said it was he maybe promised.
She was happy with it too. The maybe promise worked for her.
You know, and at first I was taken aback by it, but then I realized that is actually a good way to go about promises because I'm sure that the intention was there. So.
Hopefully not with our wedding vows.
No, definitely not. Like I said, not wedding related.
No, not wedding related. Okay.
Okay, so let's see what everybody else has for us this week, and let's start with Christiana Doucette.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Christiana, great to see you.
Good to see you too, and congratulations a little bit early. So excited for you.
Aw, thanks so much. What do you have for us this week?
I wrote one called Planting a Garden is a Promise. And at the bottom I have some pictures from the inspiration for this poem.
Oh, very cool. Let me pull this up just 1 second as I get organized. Okay. Planting a garden is a promise. And then here, do you want the pictures first or second?
I don't think it matters to me that much.
Well, let's hear the poem and then we'll reveal the pictures at the end. Yeah, go ahead.
Planting a garden is a promise. The small mounds on the damp ground smell of rotting leaves. I've tucked the unpotted seeds in tight. Out of my sight, they're rooting in the dark, reaching for the spark of warmth they can feel but not yet see. And me, I fill the pitcher with water at the sink, splash a daily drink on the black earth, and research when to expect them. Through the almost frost, I'm counting the cost, hoping they haven't lost their way up, the way I am fumbling forward, reaching for warmth I hardly feel. But when hope seems unreal, there is still earth. They don't speak their thirst, they don't announce themselves, but first, a thin thread with one green head lifts its cap, and then a second leaf reaches above the soil, and I toil beside them, digging up the weeds that want to choke, stoking the stems, marveling at each green gem, and soon the bed is full of them. There are blisters on my hand, and it's not quite like I've planned, but I'm choosing to expand my horizon. Don't tell me if that's wise when I'm pulling the epistles from the thistles from my thumb. Those moments, I'm sure it's all dumb and my back is plumb tuckered out. But I've struck it out and the buds become flowers. I've stuck it out and the buds become flowers. And the hours I've spent meant something because my basket is full. My vases are full. The bare spaces are full, full, full of the flowers. A gardener's bower tucked beneath the shade they've made, and I'm the one drinking in their life-giving hope.
Oh yeah, that was great. Great rhythms and energy to that poem as always, and the internal rhymes everywhere. And we have the flowers too, which are beautiful.
Those are stunning. Wow.
Those were last year's. So today I spent the afternoon. I got some like a irrigation system at the end of the season last fall, and so I've been waiting and waiting and waiting to put it in. And last week we had like our last snow. Hopefully our last snow. I mean, it's South Carolina. We shouldn't get any more, right? So I spent the afternoon today like putting in this whole irrigation system and connecting all the little pieces.
Oh wow.
I can't wait.
That is, yeah. Well, good luck with the blooms.
We look forward to more pictures.
Yeah, definitely. Those are really, I mean, that's...
yeah, those are amazing.
Yeah, they are. Thanks for sharing that, Christiana.
Thank you.
All right. It was Christiana Doucette with Planting a Garden is a Promise. And next, let's go to Jared Campbell.
Hello.
Hey, Jared. Good to see you.
Good to see you. How are you?
Good. So what do you got for us?
So for this one, I went to England during the Anglo-Saxon period.
That's not something I've started a sentence with ever.
Burning. His wares being sold, he walked the road from market to his town with a merry heart, passing familiar pastures and fields in familiar order. Milkwort bloomed. As he drew nearer, nervousness arose where thatched roofs had been. As where thatched roofs had been, he saw a blank, then blackness spotting the land like plague. Post holes and ashes where houses had been. Haunting silence where kinsmen and friends had congregated. Their goats and chickens were gone. He walked to the meeting hall, where mead and ale had been shared, gifts given, where meat was cut when the Lord had come for tribute, and to issue justice, ending any feud, where the court of suitors had sat, to hear complaints and keep the peace by wisdom instead of steel. The posts were standing with nothing to support, silent, roofless, beamless and charred, like branchless trunks after a forest fire. A burning swept through his heart, searing hate for the men who raised his motherland. He swore that he would search the length of every river, the breadth of every sea, until he found them and took his vengeance. But he knew, in another, colder heart, that those men had vanished.
Yeah, interesting story there.
Yeah, wow.
Not something you see in poems very often. Burning. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that, Jared.
No, thank you.
Yeah, cool. It was Jared Campbell with Burning. And next let's go to Carla Schwartz.
Hello.
Hi.
So glad
Hey,
to be
Carla. Yeah,
here, and
glad to have you.
congratulations on your upcoming vows.
Thank you.
And similar to Christiana, I have one that is inspired by a plant, by flowers actually.
Interesting.
And this is inspired by an amaryllis. And I have pictures at the end. And the thing about this amaryllis is amaryllis normally has either 2 blooms or 4 blooms. And this there's a 5th bloom in there.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. That's impressive.
That's in the pictures that you can see. And okay. Corral. And here the amaryllis comes, a shooting up green spear. This, the 2nd blooming in 2 months, itself a surprise. And soon the opening begins, the trumpeting of the 4 flowers, north, east, west, and south. And even before they open, look again, not 4, but 5 blooms promised, the 5th pygmead, smaller than the rest, but still the promise of a little bloom to come. And when the dainty coral and white striated ruffles begin their song, that 5th bloom, that unexpected vow, holds tight in its green case, waiting with patience to join in with the chorus.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love the idea of calling that fifth bloom the unexpected vow. That's really neat.
Yeah, that really is neat.
And I have two sets of pictures. So you can see the earlier pictures are at the bottom there. And then if you scroll down to the next page, you can see how it develops. And you can see how there's 5. That little guy hasn't bloomed yet, but just about to. And
wow.
It's really cool.
Yeah, that is neat. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's interesting that you and Christiana both had the flowers. I think we got some
pictures.
green thumbs in the house, and also a lot of people who can't wait for spring.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Carla. Yeah, it was Carla Schwartz with Corral. Yeah, interesting. All right, let's go to Kimberly Gibson-Tran next.
Hello, Tim and Katie.
Hey, great to see you.
Yeah, so I actually cheated a little bit. This poem I began for the last week's prompt with a piece of dialogue on a story. Haven't told anyone, but then I didn't finish that in time, so I adapted it to this one. And then bizarrely, I think it actually fits all 4 prompts.
Wow, that's impressive. Wow.
That definitely is. Well, if that's an argument for the prompt poem of the month, I don't know.
I don't think that's cheating. I think that's achieving. So.
Yes. Okay, so here it is. It's called What Hope Is There? My husband took it hard, learning our marriage counselors divorced. 5 years ago, we sat meekly on their worn couch, enamored they were a married couple, both ministers. But yesterday, I lit on a post of one of theirs bemoaning a 5-2 custody schedule. I sat up rapt, couldn't believe. One was quoting young Pueblo, the other decorating new rooms. When one had the kids, the other took a soul-searching vacation to the same place the ex-spouse went last month, Sedona, or the Grand Canyon. I gape at chasms, rippling sunset canyons. I watch them trod the same red ground on separate weeks. The world contracts. Their ink is on our marriage contract. In one's backyard, a chimenea casts its warm glow by an unstirred swimming pool. It's surreal when the kids smile with their parents' mingled faces. One keeps the house, one keeps the church. When my husband learned this news, he lurched in his seat, pressed me for my take, for updates. What hope is there for the rest of us? He said dejectedly. It had been a blessing, driving in fog to follow the brake lights ahead. We shelter in statistics, the 50-50, wonder if we'll stick. I was surprised to be the unsurprised one. I am my husband's second wife. Wouldn't he know the fault lines no one finds ahead of time? Here is what I learn. This small candle between us, we are desperate for its light. Remembering that day nearly 5 years back, the ceremony words the ministers fed to us. One moment we lit 2 tapering ends and bent them together. I'd do it again.
Oh, that's great. It's hilarious and then sweet.
Then sweet. What a journey. Yeah.
Yeah, really, it's a journey of a poem. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
So fun.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thanks much for sharing that.
Yeah, I really laughed. I had to stifle some of my laughter
You
at the
did. She was
beginning. I was
holding it
going to
back.
ruin the audio. It's like,
All right. Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing that.
thanks.
Yeah, it was Kimberly Gibson-Tran with "We Hope" or "What Hope Is There." Let's go next to Matt Joseph.
Great. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, great to see
Great.
you.
Thank you. All right. Great. Thank you so much. So I spent my idiotic adolescence convinced I would never be partnered with anybody. So the title of my poem is Sledding with My Future Wife as Sophomores in College.
Interesting.
A midnight golf course, mid-December, our 2-handled saucer sluicing down the 9th hole's moon-crusted shimmer, the hiss of plastic on snow and our breath splitting the icy quiet like cordwood into before and after. First, our frozen descent, somehow pretzeling our two bodies to fit on that rudderless circular postage stamp. No control but our clinging to one another as we spun round halfway down to see where we'd come from, backs facing the future, heading ass first into whatever came next, catching air, catching chance, or fate, or dumb fucking luck. Then the two of us sprawled on that vast blank white slate like twin question marks, laughing into one another's open mouths, saying we loved each other. No, we were in love, yes. That gave off more heat. Even that, not quite it. Two kids vowing silently the bestest pinky promise ever to unlock the future together, to see what might lie inside. And now, 40 years gone, we've seen. And today our daughter called us to talk of concerts and classes and trying to put out our burning world. And later our son to show us his new redwood tree forearm tattoo to remind him from whence he sprang. Wedged between this moment and that long ago snowbound wordless pledge, the days have passed like a southward sky river of swallows, an endless swirl of change and becoming, and we suddenly find the sun falling fast, the star-pocked, promise-filled night rising faster. We hear the squeak of fresh snow beneath our boots, see the long hill sloping down and down into the sweet unknown, and there, resting against a tree, an old plastic sled, resplendent with cracks, hot pink, just as safe and steerable as any fine cafeteria tray, calling out our names, asking once again if we're ready for what comes next.
Oh, yeah, again, it's a sweet poem and with a lot of humor in it too. I love what's coming out of this prompt. Yeah, it's really fun.
Great. I love how you leap forward in time in your poem so much. It's great.
That's what it feels like, having kids and being an empty nest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much, you guys. This is such a gift that you guys do this. Really appreciate it.
Oh, great.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for being here,
Thank
Matt.
you.
Yeah. Once again, that was Matt Joseph with Sledding with My Future Wife as sophomores in college.
And we actually went sledding this winter. It was like the first time I'd gone sledding growing up mainly in Florida. So I understood that poem all the more because I knew what it's like to sit on a sled.
Oh, but you've never done the cafeteria tray.
No, I'm glad I got the more luxurious experience.
Yeah, that is the college experience. That was
Cafeteria tray?
Yeah, and they put it in a garbage bag for extra speed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, they get mad though when you steal the tray.
Yeah, I
but
bet
they
do.
can't stop it, really.
I hope you don't return it after.
All right. Well, let's go next to Rod Deasy's here. It's been a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Rod, how you doing?
Good evening.
Hi.
I'm fine. I made it this time.
Yeah, I'm
Good.
so glad. Yeah, I guess you had some technical problems or something.
Yeah, well, I've done it twice this month. I don't know what it is.
Oh,
I've
well, I'm
been
glad to
looking
hear,
at
Rod.
other
Yeah.
services. Anyway, this is a poem that, as you get older, you find that you're writing poems that you wrote 15 years ago, and this is kind of one of those. I did it this morning in about 35 minutes, and it ran right through the wreckage of an earlier poem.
That's always interesting. Yeah.
Picked up some lines on the way, but it is its own poem. It's called Tracking the Patterns. If I am lucky, I wake up and stare at the sky to discover the day. The sky is an all-encompassing blanket, ever-changing, but with the same familiar cloud shapes and colors. The trees, too, are the same, but not the same, mostly predictably, green, brown, bare, green, etc. I check out the dinosaurs' descendants that define our home place, as seen through my kitchen window. Then I walk the same walk that I walk every day, looking at stuff. I make connections, confirm continuity. On a fallen log, a fresh thumbprint of lichen stands out like a sore thumb. What else? A spring tendril of vetch begins to agitate a fence post. Each data point repaints the picture, rewrites subtext, changes a footnote. A lone goldfish visits a neighbour's bird feeder, skittering between suet and seeds. A few robins are still finding fallen hawthorn berries amid the sere stalks of last year's Japanese anemones. A pair of squirrels stutter step between oak trees, trying to remember where they buried acorns. The trees are waking slowly, or are they? They wail in the silence, whisper in the darkness, while their measured green thoughts travel underground along mycelia, almost invisible fungal networks. These fine nerve-like threads link trees via their roots. What do they say to each other? All these lives are part of the landscape that contains us, their patterns overlaid and weaving to form the whole. But the big picture seems to be rearranging. Everything responds to shifts in the continuum. Will we survive? I walk the same walk every day, looking for clues. It's never the same walk. Thanks, Heraclitus. And I vow to walk this walk every day, forever. Which my cardiologist says is a very good thing.
I love that last line especially. Great lines throughout. Thanks so much for sharing that, Rod.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah. It was Rod DC with tracking the patterns. Yeah. And I love that what he was talking about the same poem coming out again years later.
That happens to me the next day sometimes. I don't have to wait 15 years.
Let's see. Let's go next to David Boos.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, David.
Hey, David. Great to see you.
Good to be back. Congratulations to the two of you. Best wishes in this coming week. I hope you're taking some time to go play.
Thank you. Yes, we're going to try to.
So this went in a sort of darker direction for me, and it ended up being a persona poem. So this is called Eurydice Wants a Word. It helps if you are at least somewhat familiar with the Greek story of Orpheus and Eurydice. You could have just kept on walking. What, you didn't think I'd follow? What have I got to stay here for? Dive bar in the middle of nowhere, putting up beer for lechers who leer and grab my ass. It's not like I got options. Boss man stealing my pay so there's never enough for a bus, charging me rent while making me live in his drafty, busted down double wide, taking me in his wretched bed till he rolls off and snores like the devil. You were my ticket out, you and your songs. You could sing and make the angels give you their wings. You even conned the boss man, got him thinking it would be okay for me to go. His only deal? You gotta keep walking. Don't look back. Why would I look back? I was all too happy to throw that bar rag down, past the assholes where they sat, and follow you out of this hellhole. I was right behind you. You could have just kept on walking. What, you didn't think I'd follow? Or were you afraid your magic wouldn't hold? Boss man grabbed me after all, pull me back. Believe me, you'd have known. You just needed to keep on walking. I was right behind you. But you get to that door, one foot on the other side, and you gotta turn and look. And the boss man busts out laughing, and the assholes at the bar are laughing, and the door is closing, and you're on the other side. And the boss man hands me the rag and says, get to work. And I'll tell you what, if you ever come back here, I swear I'll kill you.
Very interesting take on the Greek mythology. Thanks so much for sharing that, David.
Thanks.
David Boos with Eurydice Wants a Word. Yeah, I like that title. All right, let's go to Amanda Harris next.
Hey guys, so I went a very traditional route with this and talked about marriage. So here we go. The vow. I call myself a woman on an island because the conquered man is an island. The conquered man is an island, and I stand on it stupidly, expecting that my feet will make its ghost shadow less attractive. That's the way it goes, doesn't it? The woman falls in love with the attractive man. If men were more than an island, I'd call them found. If men were more than an island, I'd call them mine. My entire life, I thought that the thing I wanted was a woman. Sexuality is a creature with teeth, a creature with bones, a creature that thinks it knows what it wants, but doesn't.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, a lot of twists and great lines in that poem. Yeah.
So
the
again, I
vow.
always love the energy in your work, Amanda. It's exciting.
Yeah,
Thank
just
you.
bursting out of the gate.
Yeah, I know. I love it.
Yeah,
I want to
Yeah, I
start my
love
day like you read your poems. It's like awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's Amanda Harris with the vow. Yeah, I like that. I call myself a woman on an island because the conquered man is an island.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
great start.
Yeah.
All right, let's go next to first time caller. I think Zachary May is here. Wait, maybe we've had Zachary before.
Nope, not before.
Great. Okay.
Great.
Well, great to see you. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Michigan, near Frankenmuth,
Great.
Little Bavaria. And shout out to Kimberly Gibson Tran, who encouraged me to share my poem this week and stop lurking.
Oh, awesome. Well, we're
that is
so
wonderful.
glad.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks.
Right, this is called Promises to My Sons. I swear I'll never be your friend. I'm your dad and love you with my heart until my every cell and atom rends. I swear to help you fail and then to start again. For failure teaches well, and no one learns in life unless they're pulled apart. I promise I will often tell you no, for no has potent power when you must tell your peers you won't and use self-control. I vow to show you how to hold distrust with those who act like truth is just a fad or love is interchangeable with lust. I swear that I am going to make you mad when I assigned you chores, yes, and on end. This torture teaches you. It's not so bad. I swear my love and pride will never bend, but know that I can never be your friend.
I like that ending
I
too.
can
It's
relate
like-
to
yeah.
a lot of the parenting decisions in that one too.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, great use. It's great to see some formal rhyme and meter in poems
nice.
too. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Zachary.
Yeah.
Thank
Hope
you.
you come back soon.
Yeah. It was Zachary May with Promises to My Sons. Let's go to Mike Bales next.
I'll join the litany of everyone. Congratulations. I think it's neat.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Like this, probably a little bit of a sadder spin on the subject. I think I kind of misread it, but I think the word I used in it has to do with the subject. You'll see the comment. I think the last line says a lot about this. It's the poem Light Like Stars. Quiet streets in Des Moines after dinner. My friend and I were remaking our lives after her divorce, and I was losing a job. I'd driven these roads many times since we first danced in a blues bar when a gentle glow took me to the stars, and we felt so free that night. Now a moment of silence was interrupted by her. I think we are looking for different things, and all I knew was that I wanted to be with her, and a desire spurred by something her weary father said after the divorce was final. My daughter could use a husband. The streetlights flicker like memories, but our lives are falling apart. To my surprise, I said marriage. I guess that's what I'd grown to want, but the timing couldn't have been worse.
Really interesting story. Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing that, Mike.
Yeah, you don't use that word in the middle of a bad argument. I found out the hard way.
Good advice.
The Monday after that, I went to a bunch of friends. I went, what did I do?
Well, we're getting a lot of good advice today.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Mike.
It's Mike Bales with Light Like Stars. All right, next let's go to Chelsea McGlynn.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
Chelsea, great to see you.
So this poem, similar to Rod, I've actually written a similar poem before because I still haven't quite gotten, I feel like, the metaphor fully out. But it's inspired by my daughter's science fair project. So 9 out of 10 creatures in the deep sea bioluminesce. Using that fallen angel's chemical, luciferin, some creatures make their shine through photosynthesis, then sink back down, bringing a piece of the sun into abysmal depths. Some evolved that way, and evolved that way, and evolved that way, at least 40 different times, each species learning that they must make their own light to survive. No one would come to burn a path for them. Still others found that if they can't make luciferin themselves, store-bought is just fine. Or rather, offering their own flesh to be colonized with glowing bacteria. Like the newly hatched bobtail squid, born dark and dim, who excrete chemoattractants for bacteria to sniff out, then beat their cilia, sweeping in the light. But all angels know the risk of shining too bright. It does not do to attract the attention of that dark shadow above. Still, the hagfish and the gulper eels, the salps and nudibranchs, vampire squids, and I, with my sharp teeth lurking in the dark, vow to glow.
Oh, that's great. I love the science in that one, as you can imagine.
I love the but all angels. Wait, you started scrolling.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. But all angels know the risk of shining too bright. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And
the
it's
store-bought.
just the metaphors. The store-bought luciferin.
Yeah, that's
the
great.
metaphor is just too perfect that all these creatures glow. We named it after Lucifer.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah,
I know I'm hoping that one of these poems eventually will get all the way to the point I'm trying to make, which I'm not sure what it is, but we'll see.
All right. Well, very cool. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that, Chelsea.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. It was Chelsea McGlynn with 9 out of 10 creatures in the deep sea bioluminesce, which is fascinating too. I didn't realize it was 9 out of 10.
A lot in that poem.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
You know, when next time we're in the deep sea, we'll know what's going on.
That sounds scary.
I know it's not happening. Okay. Next, let's go to Brian O'Sullivan.
Hello.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, and congratulations. I'm so excited for you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
So this is incongruously called the Broken Vow. And broken is in italics for a reason. The Broken Vow. Let me be broken like bread for the hungry. The loudspeaker next to the crucifix proclaims, and I in my button-down shirt and my green pants and my clip-on tie with the gold St. Greg's monogram, and the other kids, all at our little desk chairs, mumble it back. And the words drum into my head, and decades later it seems to me that I really vow to believe in the beauty of the broken self, in a broken world, and of a broken faith. I'm grateful for that, and for the confidence that it takes not to be sure. For maybe it wasn't over the loudspeaker, or it was a different prayer. Though I don't believe that that's how Sister Regina meant for us to vow.
No, that's great. Yeah, I love the turn there at the end too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
My pleasure.
Yeah, that was Brian O'Sullivan with a broken vow. Let's go to Joe Cotwood next. Joe hasn't been around in a bit. Yeah. Hey, Joe.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
And congratulations to
thank you,
Katie. And Katie, thank you for this prompt. It opened up something I didn't know was there.
Oh, good.
No, it's always the best. Yeah.
And I don't use the word vow in the poem. It's because it just wouldn't fit with the way teenagers talk.
Yeah.
But it's a vow.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
It's to understand the poem, you have to know what ball lightning is. I'm not sure everyone does. Ball lightning is not a flash. It's a rare form of lightning that's in the shape of a ball, and it lingers for seconds, even for a minute, and it moves. It's very weird stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, this poem's called Who Can Argue with Lightning? We never heard of ball lightning until later when we separately, privately, asked Mr. Zender, the science teacher. But the rich people on the lake who only come in summer have a boathouse we sneak into this warm autumn night on the love seat on the balcony so the stars can tell us of our insignificance while I gaze at your sad eyes and you tell me again about your big brother who blew up, you say, all alone in Afghanistan. And we kiss. We don't notice at first how swirly the sky, the rising wind, until the flash and then a circle of hissing yellow skims toward us over the water, fast as a rocket, and leaps upward over us to disappear like God rolled a bowling ball of fire, leaving ozone smell. No sound, no sizzle, while my electric fingers, I learned later through the grapevine, leave scorch marks on your breast. In the silence, after shock, you button and say, I don't want to die with you. Your eyes so clear. And then you say, I want to die with somebody I love.
Oh, that's a great ending for that
Yeah,
poem. Yeah, that
wow.
really is. Another, built a scene and then took us somewhere really surprising with it. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was Joe Cottonwood with Who Can Argue with Lightning. Another lot of science going on in these poems too. Really fun poems this week. All right, let's go to Laura Berg next. Laura's been out for a bit.
Hi.
Yeah, great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Are we going to get to see a picture from the wedding on Facebook or something?
Yeah, I'm gonna share on Facebook. We can share one.
share it
on
on-
the-
yeah, we
we
can do it on
can.
here,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Okay.
fun. Thanks for asking. Now I
Yay.
feel like I can share. It's wanted.
Yay.
Aw.
Okay, so so I tried something a little different. Maybe it'll be fun for people to try it too. So here we go. Of course, I want to come back to San Miguel. Any poet would. But if I vow to return, what's the point? What's a vow if it might not be kept? A little white hut in the cemetery filled with dried carnations, an egg empty on the inside, embellished with stallions, a cactus that from a distance looks like a tree, a child restrained with a leash of blue ribbon, a three-legged mule draped with marigolds, a trumpet flourish that only goes up, a long stretch of river with no boats, laundry hung to dry in rain, a tree stump with a twist, an orange peel, an empty nest. Send the mind where it did not expect to sojourn, but make no promises. Don't vow to return.
Oh yeah, I love the list there. And then really neat poem. Is there a certain form to that the list shrinks, or is it a nonce kind of?
No,
form?
it just shrank by
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, well, it really worked well. Thanks so much for sharing that, Laura. Yeah.
Thanks.
There's Laura Berg with of course I want to come back to San Miguel. Any poet would, but if I like the title too. All right. Next, let's go to Maro Dowdle.
Hi, friends. Congratulations. Hope you're having a
thanks so
good
much,
night.
Mara.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Sorry, not funny again, but heir to this. After she dies, I see it. The bracelet I once thought I was promised, though no one said it. Possessed by an elder previously deceased. She, a relic of the silent generation, martyr to men, cancer, and drink. It's there, the trinket, in a glass bowl by the side of the bed. The silver cuff, tarnished, set with semi-precious of every color. I'd watch it slide the old woman's limb as she lifted bourbon to her lips. I longed for it to bauble my own wrist. When she left it to my sister, I couldn't believe it. I'd been there first, and didn't she owe me for calling my legs too big, for screaming at me when I disagreed with her politics? And now here it is, again, my sister dead. Funny thing, she never wore it, preferred pearls and diamonds, and I could just take it. It's likely no one would miss it, lost in the trouble of a young mother's death. But, I vowed not to take what is not freely given, and she can no longer give it. And what would I be thinking, being heir to this?
Yeah, really interesting poem. Yeah, powerful stuff. Thanks so much for sharing that, Mara.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. It was Maro Dowdle with Heir to This. All right, and now let's go to Tina Denniclaw next.
Okay.
Hey,
So
Tina.
good. Hi. Let's see here. Oh, Congratulations. I cry at weddings, so I can't say very much more than that.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so yeah, there's a few vows in here, but none of it is labeled vow. Okay, I ordered a storm door made in Minnesota. Maybe too much for our breezy weather, but we do get wind-pounding rain sometimes. The gentleman who hung our door immigrated from Mexico. He visited with my Navajo husband while I wrote his check. They talked philosophy, peoples, culture, humanity. Your house has a gentle spirit. He was speaking to me. It's pleasant to be here. My husband, home just 2 weeks after surgery for an aggressive cancer. There were surgical drains to milk and empty, wounds to dress, protein shakes to make. Each task, a quiet prayer. Grace, seeding grace. I removed all the turmoil from our life, like the radiant force of a newly lit star. There is a different storm now, in the air and on the airwaves, pelting us all. I set my jaw and leveled my gaze, as my father would do in the face of danger. You will not take the peace of our home. And I shut tight the solid new storm door, built to withstand a blizzard.
Yeah, great title. Great use of that as a metaphor, Tina. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah, safe travels. And I don't know if you're already there, but yeah, have a wonderful time. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Don't worry about it. You can laugh
It's just
about
the
it
two
later.
of us, so I'm not scared. I'm just excited. It's really great.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Wonderful. Okay.
All right. Yeah, thanks so much, Tina.
Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was Tina Dennett-Claw with I Ordered a Storm Door Made in Minnesota. Yeah, that's a great title, too. All right, let's go to Hamid Malik next.
Hi.
Hey, Hamid.
Hey, it's like a pre-wedding party, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. Yeah, I think it's like Katie planned it this way or something.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Mine is Let's Play. I vow to see you with my warped eyes closed. Blindness will bore through these forts we've built, out of politics and points of view, every metaphor for split, unglued. I promise to be airbrush touch with your baby skin exposed. How could I not gush and coo at the fairy floss of you? How adorable your fury with its firing squad. Your voice is honey as you shout, ready, aim, at all those shameful clowns, the evil voters, unjabbed heathens, God, all the misbelievers. That hairball spittle is angel down. I'll turn the ceiling fan to 10 and watch it slice our strings and send the hands that play them flinging through their storyboards and cutting cords that nevermore will hoax us apart. I want to kiss the red away from your searing neck, whisper it's okay until our silly notions render into silken waves, and we both remember that it's all pretend.
Yeah, really wonderful music in that poem.
Yeah,
I loved so many
Barry
lines.
Floss, really great. Yeah, wow.
And the hairball spittle his angel down. Yeah, great lines. Thanks for sharing that, Hamid.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was Hamid Malik with Let's Play. Let's go to Nate Jacob next. Hey, Nate.
Hi.
Yeah, great to see you.
You two who will soon be one. Congratulations.
Aw,
Thanks,
thank
Nate.
you. Thanks.
Hey, mine's titled Hypoxia as Healing for the Neglected Child. Hypoxia is the condition of too little oxygen that divers and people holding their breath get. Hypoxia as healing for the neglected child. After years apart, my brother holds on to the edge of the pool while our kids churn the middle, holds his head underwater, while they attempt to drown out every sound with more sound, calms and holds his breath only for the sake of getting better at easing and holding his breath. And I've paused my retelling of the last few years of living while his curly hairs waver at the surface for a full and frankly amazing to me 107 seconds, while he slowly and coolly rises to the surface, still not breathing, wipes his face clear of water and bangs, opens his eyes, presses the stop button on his drugstore Timex, and finally, pacifically, inhales through a serenity I've begged for at the temples, the altars, the feet of every god and guru encountered. We each have 3 kids now, and almost no clue about raising them. Just then, my 4-year-old runs past and slips into the deep end, sinking, silent, and I reach out to him, at most 3 seconds from the moment his body crossed my view. I surface him, clawing my forearm, gasping for breath in the face of sure death. He looks smaller in that moment, so I ask him to cling to me a good minute or more before urging him back to the shallow side. I turn again to my brother, only to find him pinching his nose, eyes closed, no wasted movement, holding his last exhale again below the surface. And though I am at least 90 seconds behind, I lower myself underwater, meet him in the muffling blue, and promise, in the silence and cool calm of that edge, that if ever I know his rage, I will make of his held breathing every effort to lift him from any darkness. Let his stopped breath at last be the convincing of gods, wise men, and brothers that his cause is just. Let his wants and needs quicken them, inspiring divine action, their reaches pressing toward him, his being, their being, our being, at last the same shared breath.
Wow, yeah, that use of the theme throughout the poem was really great. Yeah, yeah, great storytelling, Nate. Yeah. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks, Nate.
Break a leg this week if that applies.
Thanks so much, Nate. Yeah, that was Nate Jacob poem.
Thanks.
All right, and next let's go to Joanna Woods is here. Joanna hasn't been on in a bit.
You guys, it's been too long.
It has. It's great to see you.
Oh, likewise. I am really excited to be here and excited that it's your wedding weekend. I don't know. These are the good stuff.
Aw, thanks.
So I had fun with this prompt. I was sitting on the sofa, like playing with different words, and then this one happened. And I was like, I'm done. This is it. I'm doing this.
Oh, fun.
So, prompt poem. Write a poem with an unexpected vow. Vowels. As empty intersects open, us and sometimes you.
So clever.
Oh, that is. It's really fun. Yeah.
That's great.
It's been silly. But anyway, thanks for letting me join. I'll see you guys soon. I've been really enjoying snooping in the background, watching people. So thanks as always.
Well, thanks so
great.
much,
Thanks,
Joanna. Yeah,
Joanna.
that was really fun. Thanks for sharing.
Bye.
Yeah, Joanna Woods with the vowels.
Vowel's definitely an unexpected vowel.
That is a clever use
Very
of the-
true.
yeah.
Hard to get more unexpected.
Let's go to Dick Westheimer next.
Hey all.
Hey,
Wouldn't
Dick,
it
it's
be
great
the
to see
night
you.
that you're getting up at 4 in the morning to leave that you get 50 people on the podcast?
Yes.
It's the pre-wedding party, you know.
Well, what a great attitude. I'll get right to my high bunnish sort of experiment here. You have it up there?
Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Remembrance of things past. And I'm not sure whether I should say, Marcel Proust or anything after that, but anything. Remembrance of things past. Fresh coffee. I bought a box of Blackwing 602s, the kind Billy Collins uses to write of waking on a lazy Sunday and walking just bloomed petunias on the way to the coffee shop, where he'll sit and notice a cute couple making moon eyes at each other. The girl has the most arresting mole on her cheek, and the boy's chin cleft as deep as rivers out west, where kayakers crash over Class 4 rapids, and later in the day lays in pools where the water is so clear you can see the shadows of cutthroat trout blackening the bottoms. Brewing. The tip of the blackwing breaks, and Billy looks up from his Fabio Ricci notebook and sees a fly struggling in a web, which makes Billy think of fishing, and he quickly resharpens his pencil and finishes the poem with him pulling the last trout from the Bitterroot River and then letting it go. Memories of my father. I wanted to write like that, be an august poet with hands smudged with graphite and shavings strewn on their desk. So I vowed I'd write my poems with a 602, but I'd forgotten how my fingers cramped when grasping writing implements, and I got Fs in penmanship, and paper is a way of getting away from me, and there are no coffee shops walking distance from my home. Admiring old poets, writing in pencil.
Yeah, really fun poem, Dick. Thanks so much for
I
sharing
really
that.
love
Yeah.
that last haiku. That's great.
Mhm.
And I can relate because I get this romantic idea that I'm going to write with a fancy pencil or pen, and then I remember why I stopped, which is I cannot read my own handwriting.
There we go. Appreciate y'all. Have,
Yeah.
have a great week.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thanks so much, Dick. Yeah, wonderful
you.
Hyben. Yeah. Yeah, Dick Westheimer with Remembrance of Things Past. Let's go to Jamie Thomas next.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
hi.
Yeah, hi, Jamie. We can't see you, though, if you want to be on, but you don't have to.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I don't know if you got my work. I sent it like 20 minutes ago, I think.
Yep, I got it right here. Have you been on before, Jamie? I mean, you're so familiar in the Critique of the Week in the comments section.
I have not. This is my first time here.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah, congratulations on being here. Thanks for joining
Sorry, I
in.
was so used to reading your comments that I assumed we had seen you before, but
yeah.
I appreciate that. I just want to say I took a very different direction than everybody else, maybe. My 27th anniversary, marriage anniversary is coming up really soon. And I thought I just could not write about that.
Mhm.
And I really thought, because you have to dig so deep in like the bag of imagination to come up with a good gift at this point, right, for your anniversary. I thought maybe I'll write a poem, and then I wrote it, and I thought maybe I'll just buy him a watch. So this is what I came up with. Okay, so this is on our silver anniversary. Love does not boast, but it does take notes. 25 years since we agreed to this, and still, I vow to be there, just outside your line of sight, as you confidently mispronounce quinoa, as you decide again that the best way to check if the pan is hot is to touch it. I vow to say nothing as you eyeball the rice to water ratio, as you insist the foundation holds weight, as you press snooze believing time is different for you. I vow to remain clogged drain quiet as you tell the plumber, no, I got it. As you grab the Tupperware stamped do not microwave, I vow to never stop you, never correct you, never intervene. Just smile softly like God's understudy, only to exist always just beyond your reach, a presence, a history, a silent witness to your worst ideas, like a Liberty $50 trapped in a garbage disposal, like a key locking the door from the outside.
Well, that was great. A lot of
Yeah.
fun humor in that one,
Yeah.
too. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing
Thanks,
that, Jamie.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And where are you calling from?
Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not too far from Dick, just before you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, great to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Hope you come back soon.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go. Rachel Grieve is next. I also think Rachel's the first time, unless she was on last week. I think the first time, though. Hey,
Hi, no,
Rachel.
first time.
Hi.
I think this
Yeah.
might actually be my first time reading a poem to people.
Oh, wow.
That's really exciting.
Oh, that is
Oh,
exciting.
I feel so
Yeah.
honored.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I wasn't going to do it, but Bethany inspired me with this too religious, but not religious enough. So,
Yeah.
and of course I picked one that needed some explanation.
Mhm.
I love these prompts. They go in such weird directions. But this is a story, a Bible story that I remember thinking when I was a kid, what if this happened next? So it's called After the Vow, and it's a story about the Apostle Paul. So 40 men made a vow not to taste food or drink until they had killed Paul. And they planned an ambush, but the son of Paul's sister heard about it, and he went and told Paul, and Paul sent him to the commander of the garrison, who took Paul safely away, and they did not kill him. So this is imagining, what if those guys just kept their vow and never ate again?
Interesting.
So those 40 sometimes haunted him, those emaciated skeletons. They crouch in ships' grain stores, fold themselves inside his cupboards, peer hollow-eyed from the dregs of his watered wine. Their winding clothes at first hung loose, then sloughed away. And so they dog his imagination. These men become swords, become stilettos. Even here at the ends of the earth, where Spain opens and shuts her mouth at him, famished, he enters and leaves. She swallows his paper trail. He finds it all so galling. The hungry ones grind their teeth. They ask for a cheese paired with figs. Maybe I should have been a dentist, he thinks, or a fisherman or a farmer. But instead, the apostle must punch all through leather every day of his life, stitching the big tent on commission. He tells himself he has work to do, and no time for the ghosts of fools who would waste themselves away just to spite him. Still, he chews his brown bread. He remembers the dead. He prays.
Yeah, really interesting poem. Thanks so much for sharing that, Rachel. Yeah.
Thank you.
And so glad you joined us. Hope you join us again soon.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. And that was really cool. First time reading a poem.
And read it flawlessly. Like,
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was
that's
impressive.
Very impressive.
Yeah. A natural.
Yep.
All right. Janet McConaughey is here. Hey, Janet.
Yeah, it's McConaughey. Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah, it's great to hear you. How you doing today?
Doing all right. If I suddenly say ouch, it's because the cat on my lap has decided to poke his foot in my face.
So what do you have to share with us tonight?
Is it okay if I made a small change since sending it in?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, just read whatever you like. I'll put up what we got, though, but yeah.
Okay. This is modern antique. Presenting myself as Amaranth of Deergarth, I wore an unconvincing Middle Ages gown with trumpet sleeves long enough to hold 12 kittens and a table's worth of silverware. The color, I was told, was authentic goose-tailed green. I knew neither bride nor groom, but assured myself that I was not a gatecrasher. My date, Lionel of the Broken Arrow, was resplendent in blue silk, his doublet pinched with wide slashed sleeves. Waiting for the ceremony, we chatted with a fur-clad barbarian, a medieval lord in tunic, tights, and shoes with pointed twirling toes, and a brocaded lady with Elizabethan ruff and bum roll. The couple's families sat at a table, awkward and mundane suits and dresses. Bride and groom jumped the broom, fed each other bread bespent with salt, peppermint besprinkled, and walked 3 sunrise circles, hands tied fast with a leathern cord. Then each said, I shall love thee through all times and trials, and though the heavens fall. What did their parents think, I wondered. My date asked her father whether he believed his eyes. He believes in them, he said. And I guess that's what matters.
Yeah, really interesting ending. I like the journey on that poem, too. Thanks so much for sharing
Thank
that,
you.
Janet. And Janet, it's your first time, too. Where are you calling from?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Wow, well, that's so great. It's another, we've been seeing Janet in the Critique of the Week and stuff a lot lately, so it's really neat to have you join us on the prompt lines.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was Janet McConaughey with Modern Antique. And let's go to Zachary Honeycutt next.
Hey, Tim and Katie.
Hi.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, congrats on the upcoming marriage.
Thank you.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Okay, so I thought I'd try to make you guys laugh one more time before you guys tie the knot.
Okay.
I'll jump right into it. I don't mean to offend anyone. This is just a satire.
Okay.
Okay.
And I don't condone my behavior either. The vows. Let's get this over with, said Zach, shoving the pastor, then skimming the Torah lying there askew. Hopefully they'll outlast the disaster of those first years and that asteroid bearing toward Earth in 2032. You may all be asking yourselves, where's the people, Tim? We eloped. Oh, yeah. You may all be asking yourselves why I'm here at Bach Tower, not in Gainesville playing hopscotch with the chickens and cows. But when I heard that Tim and Katie were tying the knot oh so near, I took it upon myself to throw Nate Jacobs' limericks in the trash and rewrite their vows. That's really not necessary, said Katie, her eyes growing wider each moment with fear. I wrote them in a few seconds, said Zach, winking at Tim on the way here. Now let's do this, he shouted, stepping from the podium to forcibly trade their notes with his. And make sure that they had their wedding bands. Glad you're here, Pastor. You can hold this, he said, putting the open beer in his hands. Katie's jaw dropped lower than a deep-sea fish, even though she wasn't at a dive. Then she began, when I met you, Timothy, it was like a high-been-writing genie granted my wish. Who else would put up with my loud laugh? Zach interjected, an excessive rambling. The pastor chimed in. Don't forget about your problem with gambling. Yeah, said Katie. I'm not going to sob, Tim. But you know I love you, without a doubt. And between you and me and Dick Westheimer, you are quite a fine-looking kraut. Tim replied, I'd protest if I could, but I have to agree with everything you just said, honey. Just like the color of my name, you happen to be right on the green, right smack on the money. I could talk about you to the end of the age, but we're both confined to the end of the page.
That was really fun, Zach. I love how you pull it all together.
That was great. Thanks very much for writing it. It was very funny.
Yeah.
It would have
Thank
been
you,
convenient
guys.
if I hadn't already written my vows. I could have just read that. You know?
And I got an idea.
No. Thanks for writing that.
Thank you. Welcome. I didn't want to steal your thunder, Katie.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Zach.
Thank you.
Yeah, fun as
Congrats
always.
again, guys. See you guys
Thanks
next
so
week.
much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was Zachary Honeycutt with the vows.
Oh, my cheeks hurt after that one, laughing.
All right, let's go to Sean Evaningo Sanders next.
I gotta follow that. Are you kidding me? Wow. So, damn it. I know it was supposed to be an unexpected vow, but I couldn't get out of that wedding space. So, I guess the unexpected part is that it's written for my daughters who aren't even dating anybody right now. So,
Yeah. Well, that's unexpected. That
Yeah.
definitely counts.
yeah. A mother's advice before Pachelbel plays for my daughters. Today, as you link your arm inside your father's to stroll on rose petals down the aisle, think of those summer days you wore a crown of dandelion and danced under the big yellow sun. How you giggled spinning circles till you dizzied on the lawn. As you walked toward your love at the altar, show them your giddy girl joy that dwells down deep inside. Tend to your marriage as you would a garden, pruning petty words to make room for love to grow. Make a vow to the one who stands beside you, to sow the seeds that come on lavender wind, to help each other carry the heavy watering can, to celebrate from burgeoning bud to bloom, to be each other's lantern in the darkness of weeds.
Yeah, what a sweet sonnet there. Yeah, thanks
Read
so much.
that at their wedding one day, I think. It's going to have to happen.
That's going to encourage them to get married a little sooner so they
Yeah.
can hear that.
So you can read it.
Well, congratulations to you. Do have a wonderful wedding this week.
Thanks very
Thanks
much,
so much,
Sean.
Sean. Yeah. Yeah, that was Sean Evaningo Sanders with A Mother's Advice before Pachelbel plays. Pachelbel.
Okay, I don't like for correcting you.
All right.
Sorry.
I am unsophisticated.
And I hate it when people correct
you.
you. I never correct you. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. That's how it's going to be from now on. All right. Let's go next to Lola Willis.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Lola. Great to see you.
Good to see you. Congratulations. I'm
thank
very
you.
excited for you too. It's going to be a great Tuesday.
Thanks.
So this poem is for anyone who has a partner that has trouble with game addiction, like RPG game addiction. Game widow it's a thing. It's a thing. So this is my poem, Game Widow.
Okay.
Scaling your fortress brick by brick, I shift fingers, groping for a crack in cold granite. Read each bony bud as scrambled braille. In your fractured rafters, dust, dove-struck plumes and settles, bronze bells unsung since they were hung. But the chimes are coming. Iron files at the battlements, rattling in your quiet keep. I cure on a stone slab throne and witness volleyed tallow fires, lighting your castle walls bright as a wedding night bride. Fists frantic, thirsty weapons gripped till clashing throws have quenched them. I've sewn virgin silk to a flag fallen and drawn prayers over cooling wounds that cry for more wars. Wind fails on the watchtowers, angel anathema. I vow my snow feather hands death too, palms cast numb, warmth foreign.
Yeah, really interesting poem, that topic too. And the video game addiction is a real problem. Hopefully my son doesn't get too much into Fortnite.
Yeah, he's
a little bit much.
He's into the Fortnite, it's true.
That is like going to heroin.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway.
It's worse than heroin.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing that, Lola. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was Lola Willis with a Game Widow. And let's go to Stephen Croft next.
Hey, Tim and Katie.
Hey, Stephen, how you doing?
Doing good. My vow will appear in the last two lines, and the poem begins with waking to hear something you don't want to be true. And this poem is for my friend Amos Edwards, who died in Iraq in 2006. So this is resurrection. It's the act of trying to comprehend the sentence, passed through the tent, walked down, passed from bunk to bunk. As consciousness comes, there is a dread that sinks in, pinning my soul, which my body cannot rise without, down into the curve of the mattress. Your essence may stay in a place where I fed a thin, half-grown fox and MRE at midnight, where the earth smell from the fields is strong in the morning sun, where dogs near the road are shot as target practice, where sago palms are beautiful by the muddy river, while your body lies in the hold of a transport plane draped in bright red, white, and blue. In Kuwait, I sat in a garden shielded by a thorn bush hedge from Persian Gulf dune meadows. The Arab gardener in his navy blue jumpsuit with his long pepper gray beard ignored me in a friendly way, slowly pushing his battered green wheelbarrow to the day's new spot where the yellow flowers of tansy ragwort shouldered into more delicate flowers. Like a close-to-retirement school principal, he pondered the ragwort encroaching from its home with the sea blight in the dune meadow as a car bomb went off in the back of my mind for the last time, maybe. There is the whine of the jet plane engines charging. Elation moves in a way that becomes seismic through the plane load of soldiers as the pilot calls wheels up over the intercom. Coming off the plane, stopped for refuel in Bangor, Maine, I shook the hand of a World War II veteran, Navy cap, bright with medals, who, the line slowing, looked offended a moment later when I didn't shake his hand. He had forgotten, but he will stand there for us when able-bodied men won't, and he knows what you've done. I can do nothing really for your wife, your small children, but know that someone will mow the lawn.
Yeah, great last line, really touching and heartfelt. Thanks for sharing that, Stephen.
Thank you.
Yeah, Stephen Croft with Resurrection. Let's go to Carolyn Codd next.
Hello.
Hi, Carolyn. Yeah, good to see you.
Hi. Yeah, good to be here. As soon as I heard the prompt, this idea came to my mind, and I was busy all week with signing petitions and writing protest letters, but I couldn't get it out of my mind, so I finally wrote this yesterday. And it happens to be about a wedding, which was my wedding.
Aww.
And it's not about the vows themselves, but it's an after vow surprise.
All right. Well, I'm excited to
So
hear
that's
this.
the title.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. We had been together for several years. Finally, it was time to do the marriage thing. We didn't want to make a fuss, so it was just us, the Reverend of the Unitarian Church before whom we said our vows, and the two required witnesses. After the ceremony, we had planned to go out for dessert and coffee. One witness had something else to do, so couldn't go. The other was our driver. He announced that he had to stop at the supermarket to return some cheese. We waited in the car, then went on to celebrate. And that was that. Life goes on. Surprise, surprise.
I love those details in that. That's really fun, Carolyn. Yeah.
So I hope that your wedding doesn't have that kind of surprise, because at the time it wasn't very funny looking back on it. We can laugh.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what we're gonna eat after we get married, so
That's
maybe
true.
we'll go buy some cheese.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for sharing that, Carolyn. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have a good wedding.
Yeah. There was Carolyn Codd with an after vow surprise. And I believe that's the end of the Zoom. Let's flip over and see what Ted Bernal-Guevara had for us tonight. He's got this picture, which I always suspect AI. This the resolution looks low, but they could fake a low resolution, you know?
Yeah.
She's just hanging out with two cheetahs, this girl. I don't know. What are the odds? So anyway, that's Ted's photo, and then this is his poem, Grok 9. There you go. Okay, Grok 9.
That seems compelling.
Yeah. AI has the vow not to tamper with sight. A pair of cheetahs, their kind, will gift you. The moment you desire, a ruby necklace. Whoa, that's rough. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, Ted. The dangers of AI. At least AI won't, maul you to death, though.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyway.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So that was Ted Guevara. Yeah. And let's do Nivedita's too. Nivedita was here in the chat. I saw. Nivedita has this for us. The vow I didn't plan. I met him on a Tuesday. His laughter quick, his eyes bright, a stranger at my cafe table mistaking my book for his. We spoke of nothing, then everything, wars, poetry, the best way to cook rice. A second meeting, a third, and suddenly he was the air between my words. One evening, mid-sentence, mid-sip, I heard myself say, I will never leave you, and promise startled me more than him. But he only smiled, as if he had been waiting for it all along.
Aw,
That's so sweet.
Nibby.
Yeah, I do love that line about he was the air between my words.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Really nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that, Nibby. That was Nibby DeKarthik with The Vow I Didn't Plan. Very good. Well, that was a great prompt lines. Thanks for the great prompt, Katie.
Well, thanks everybody for coming to what became the pre-wedding party.
Yeah, it definitely did. It definitely is a party.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do the Saiku really quick. And the Saiku for this week is based on this story from my favorite Max Planck Institute of Animal Behavior. I don't always.
They would be very honored to hear that.
Truthfully, I mean, of all the animal behavior institutes. No, I'm just kidding.
You're serious.
No, Max. If you go back to the Rattlecast, Max Planck Institute's got a lot of great stuff.
I did go back through the Rattlecast recently.
There you go. So anyway, this story here is this. Wild fish can recognize individual divers.
Huh.
And so where was this place? It was off the Canary Islands, if I remember right. In the Mediterranean Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but there's this place where there are a lot of research going on, and the researchers were having trouble because the fish kept following them around and stealing the bait they were using to work with other fish.
So Finding Nemo is real.
Finding Nemo is real. And so what this research team did is try to see what they were basing their learning of the divers on. So they had multiple divers, and they trained them on one diver with a certain outfit. And then they had another diver wear a different outfit and the same outfit. They had a whole bunch of variations on this to see what the fish were learning. And the fish were learning the colors of the dive outfit.
Wow.
So they weren't smelling the food or recognizing some, body cues or shapes, but they were recognizing which divers had food in the past and then following the one with the right color fins and goggles and stuff. Yeah.
Never would have
and
thought
so,
that.
So fish can remember, you think of a little fish brain, but it's a little tiny cutie fish, but it can remember who fed it last week. So,
wow.
Yeah. So that is the article. And then here is the Saiku. Fish eyeing the leftovers. There you go. A little monoku, fish eyeing the leftovers. That is your Saiku for this week. And that is the show for this week. Thanks, everybody, for being here for this pre-wedding party. It was a lot of fun with your vow prompt.
It was.
And now I think you got something coming up, too. So what is your prompt for this week, Katie?
All right. Well, on a related note, the prompt this week is to write a poem about the happiest place on earth.
The
happiest place on earth. So obviously, I mean by that, to you. Basically is probably how you're going to interpret it, at least. I don't just mean what everybody else thinks, of course, because I want to learn really what everybody thinks is the happiest place on earth. And we will have just gotten married, so I think it's nice to hear those kinds of poems too.
Yeah, will be. That'll be a lot of fun.
And then also, we're coming up on the end of the month, and so don't forget to turn in your prompt poems and submit them on Submittable for consideration for Prompt Poet of the Month.
And we should say this new prompt, write a poem about the happiest place on earth, is due March 2nd, which is next week. So it's actually a March prompt. And you remember, you won't be able to submit it even for a little bit after, because until Katie gets to read all the submissions and reply, because of the way Submittable works.
Right. There's going to be a little bit more of a delay on that this month, just based on where the month is ending, not actually related to our wedding. In fact.
It's tough when the first day
is Saturday. It's
But anyway, so hold your poems, but bring them in to the Rattlecast next week. And next week's guest is going to be right here, Judith Fox. So Judith Fox, no relation to Alan, is a Los Angeles-based photographer and poet. She's been both a Ekphrastic Challenge artist and had a poem in Rattle itself, issue number 83 recently. So she's got a wonderful book too. I mean, she's sharing a bunch of great poems too, and we'll talk about photography. She's got a great book of sort of a coffee table book, I Still Do, Living and Loving with Alzheimer's. So photographing people with Alzheimer's and the people who care and take care of them, along with her writing and details from her stories meeting these people. It's a really wonderful book. That's Judith Fox. That's Sunday, Oops, it should say March 2nd, but I didn't type in the date
Yeah.
right. That's March
That's
2nd,
okay.
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m.
Groundhog
Pacific.
Day is a funny one to have missed. It has.
What if I just did that every month?
episode?
Yeah,
See how
every
many people
episode.
notice
Yeah,
a lot.
well.
Okay, March 2nd.
All right, so it's March 2nd. I'll fix that slide tonight. But that's Judith Fox, Rattlecast number 283, with me and Katie being married.
Yay.
Yeah, that's Rattlecast 283. Regular time, though, 8 p.m. Eastern next Sunday. Hope to see you then. Hope you have a good week in the meantime, and we'll talk to you later. Good night.
Good night.